Welcome back to Spiro Avenue. Happy to have you. I'm excited today. This is going to be kind of a weird show in the most wonderful way. I'm hanging out with who I'm told is the Antichrist, a soldier, perhaps even a general in the most wicked army in all of mankind. His name is Nick Sheehan, a producer for the Ben Shapiro show out in California. Joining us, Nick is also a friend of mine. I'm happy to have you, Nick. Thanks for joining us.
You're canceled.
Am I canceled already?
You're canceled, dude.
We
canceled
just started.
By association.
They canceled me already. Have
You're
you
done.
been canceled in your life 10 times, 20 times with your association?
It's
I feel
just
like
an infinite, repeating cancellation.
Yeah, so we're going to get into that in a second.
We're going to get into that.
So for those of you that don't know Ben Shapiro, I don't know where you've been. I don't know if you don't have a good internet connection or if you don't do social media. Even if I didn't like Ben Shapiro, which I do, the guy would be slamming me in the face on social media every 10 seconds. You can't avoid him. Got millions of followers. The fastest growing conservative podcast in the country, I think is the title. Really interesting guy. I disagree with him a lot, but always has a good take on everything. But also quite controversial. Someone that has been attacked viciously again and again and again from all sides, including even the right, which I find interesting.
Most strongly from the right, I think.
Sometimes most strongly from the right, particularly the alt-right, which he is incorrectly associated with.
Yeah.
Nick, I'm going to dive right into it.
Yeah.
You have worked for the last 2 years?
About 2 years, I think.
Close to 2 years
Yeah.
for somebody that half the country hates. I mean, let's face it. Half the country doesn't just dislike or is indifferent, but basically hates your boss and hates the guy you work with every day.
Yeah.
What is it like working for somebody? I mean, people might not like the guy I work with, but only 6 people know who he is.
Right, yeah.
You work for someone half the country hates. What's that like?
It's, I don't know. We don't really think about it that much. You know, it's so funny because, I had some friends who work in, Hollywood stuff. We're out in LA. So I had some friends that work for, some pretty mainstream Hollywood places. And they always talk about how vicious their workplace is and how, mean and cutthroat everyone is at their workplaces. And it's so funny because at our office, everyone is so nice and everyone is so welcoming and everyone's just joking all the time. We're always having a good time. And it's the people that are supposed to be working in, the super fun entertainment industry are all yelling at each other and being all cutthroat all the time. And we're just having a good time. So we don't really notice it that much at the office. You know what I mean?
The stories out, particularly in California, if you go into the studios, but even you guys, I mean, the company's the Daily Wire, that the Ben Shapiro show is the flag bearer for, I think is safe to say.
Yeah, that's our biggest show.
It probably biggest, with some room to spare. Yeah. I think it's obviously conservative, unapologetically, admittedly. They don't hide it. It's very openly. I think the counter to you guys is probably the Young Turks. Is that safe to say in terms of scale and perspective?
Yeah, that's roughly equivalent, I would say. Young Turks is a good Young Turks or something like Vox maybe, or probably the most equivalent podcasts with a liberal perspective would be Pod Save America.
I don't know much about Pod Save America. I've heard of it, obviously.
It's a good show. I would encourage people to watch it. It's a pretty good show. It's definitely a hard liberal perspective. That's good, but I encourage everyone to get a rounded view.
The whole 360 global view.
Yeah,
right?
Exactly. Because, I mean, every show tries to get the facts right, of whatever they're talking about, but any show or any commentator is still going to be, it's still going to be influenced by their perspective. You know what I mean? So there's no single person that can give a full 360 view of everything that's going on. People can try their best, but it's just not going to happen on any specific show. So, I mean, I would definitely encourage people to watch Daily Wire in addition to get
the whole view.
You want to get every perspective.
So you're an alien already because nobody says this stuff.
I know.
Everyone says, I'm friendly with Colin Cowherd, big fan of his, ESPN for years, now Fox. Yeah. He has a phrase that he talks about that everyone's always looking for affirmation and not information. I think people just want to hear what they want to hear. People aren't really looking for that.
Well, that's once you start doing that, you stop learning. You know what I mean?
I agree. But the thing I like about Ben Shapiro, and I honestly, not to impugn any of the other people at the Daily Wire, but the thing I like about Ben in particular is that he will go right at people on the right as tough or harder
absolutely
than anybody on the left. He was extremely critical of Donald Trump throughout the 2016 campaign. Has ripped on him more than he's praised him. Probably 5-1, 6-1 ratio.
Probably,
I mean, it's not even really close. So like
not unearned either.
Right, not unearned.
Not unearned.
We'll get to all the Trump stuff in a minute. You know, maybe a few minutes. We'll see how long it takes to wind back to that because that's a big can of worms. We'll get there. But the thing I like about him is he is willing to. He's a conservative. He tells everyone he's a conservative. He doesn't hide the ball like some major media outlets do. But he will go after his own side, and that's something that I like to do as well, where it's like everyone is just saying, I'm going to rush to my team. It's everything's tribal. And I have friends that are Democrats that they have never said one bad word about a Democrat ever. That the Democrats can do no wrong, and you get the flip side of the Republicans. So, I mean, what are your discussions like? You know, I don't know what your pre-show production is like. I mean, do you guys sit and shoot the shit? Is he like...
Well, one thing I'll say first of all real quick is like Ben is for sure conservative, but it's hilarious to me. I met someone a couple months ago and we were talking, and then Ben came up and they started calling him a right-wing extremist.
Yes.
And Ben is like...
That was last summer, I think.
Yeah, Ben is like a moderate Republican, I'd say, in some respects. I'd say Ben is definitely, you could probably say he's the most moderate person at Daily Wire among the hosts. I think so.
I think there's no question.
Yeah, I think, and he's like a fairly moderate guy who at least definitely puts a lot of effort into trying to be well-rounded. And let me just say, too, I should probably say off the bat that my views, whatever I express here, is not my own views, you know, not you're not representative of the Daily Wire. I'm not representing Daily Wire here. I'm not representing Ben Shapiro. I'm just talking about.
You're just Nick Sheehan.
I'm just Nick. So I'm just talking about.
Nick.
I should get that out of the way.
Well, we already got canceled 10 minutes ago.
We already got canceled. No one's watching. So.
A representative of.
We're dark, right?
Yeah, we are dark.
It was weird that the internet got cut.
Yeah, that's weird how that happens. It's like someone's got the switch somewhere. I think you have a unique perspective because. When I think of California, I do not think of Republicans. I do not think of conservative points of view. I don't think of anything to do with the GOP whatsoever. There's a reason they don't even bother campaigning in the state. It is the most liberal state in the union.
I remember I had a friend in high school who his dad ran Mitt Romney's campaign in California, and he said it was the easiest job in the world. You don't have to do anything. Yeah. Because it's just they give up. You know what I mean?
Just ride the wave.
You just ride the wave. It's like you're good to go. You hang out. You do some fundraisers or whatever, but you just hang out.
Yeah.
But, go ahead. Sorry. But,
no, it's no problem. It's just what I was going to say is like you're in California.
Yeah.
You're a young guy, still in your 20s, I think, right?
Yeah.
Young guy, I think still single, right?
Yeah, pretty much.
Pretty much. Are we?
I'm not married.
You're not married.
I'm not married.
Yeah, there's no like ring on your finger.
Yeah.
So you're single-ish.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a guy working for the foremost Republican pundit in the country, conservative pundit in the country.
Yeah.
Living in California. I gotta ask, like, is there some type of conflict there? Does that mess with your social life?
In terms of like my dating life, yeah.
Do they find that? Do they like? When does it come up? How early does that get?
I always say it first. Like, I mean, I don't want to say it first thing. You know what I mean? Just because who talks about, you know, their political stuff first thing? That's
but it's not political. It's your job.
It's my job. Yeah. So that when that comes up, you know, I don't lie about it. I don't lie, but I also don't. You know, if someone says, "Hey, where do you know? I work at Daily Wire. It's, you know, we do political commentary. Sometimes I'll say, you know, it's conservative, whatever. Yeah. And then people can look into it if they want to, you know what I mean? And
checking your backstory.
Yeah, exactly. You know, I'm not going to go out and like spend the first half of the date explaining who Ben Shapiro is or whatever, just because that's not
probably
so
what
exciting.
I would do. It'd be like my pickup line, you know, but I maybe my pickup line in like Oklahoma. I don't know if that'd be my pickup line.
Right, exactly.
California.
Yeah.
So have you had like at least one crazy experience for
sure.
Oh, no, is there anything you could share?
Yeah, I could talk about it. So I mean, I had been seeing someone for a while, and they were like, I thought they were really cool, and I basically said everything I just said. I said right at the beginning, you know, I work for Daily Wire. It's like political commentary, mostly conservative stuff, and you know, but we don't just do like political stuff at Daily Wire. By the way, we do a couple other shows that aren't really political stuff, but that's what I basically said. You know, it's conservative commentary, a pretty well-known person. I even said it's Ben Shapiro, but the person didn't know who Ben was, and we dated for a while. It was like, I don't know, like 2 months or something. And then she really started looking into who Ben was.
Yeah.
And this was a person who purported to be like very moderate, center of the road. She always said, I'm Switzerland. She said, like, there's Republicans, there's Democrats, not me. I'm in the middle. I'm Switzerland. But it very quickly became obvious that her attitude was, I don't care if you're left or right, as long as you're not right. You know what I mean?
Right.
Like,
those people are out there.
Yeah,
right,
exactly.
Right.
And I'm like, and I'm not even, like you were saying, I don't even agree with everything Ben says, but you don't have to agree with everyone. I don't agree with any other person on this planet completely. You know what I mean?
No.
And I definitely don't get caught up in any political personality, especially politicians. I would never, ever tie my identity or tie my experience to any specific politician. You know what I mean? I know what I believe. I know, like, on specific issues. If I agree 60% with any politician, that's like, that's a good day. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like, I don't agree 100% with anybody, let alone any politician. So I don't tie myself to any single political personality. But yeah, dating. So this girl blew up. Like, when she started finding out,
she blew up. Like, started throwing stuff at you.
No, not quite. But like
the social network, when
verbal throwing. Yeah,
down.
exactly. No, she I hesitate to call anyone crazy, but she kind of went.
Call her crazy.
Yeah,
I don't think she's watching.
No, probably not. Yeah. She was like, Ben Shapiro, he's a right wing Nazi extremist.
That's
whatever.
Always an interesting.
The right calling the Orthodox Jew Nazi. Yeah. Generally, Nazis don't wear yarmulkes.
Yeah,
so
that's a good, interesting cover. You know, I mean. I just think, like, so she blew up at you. Were you dumped right away? Was there an ultimatum, like, you better quit that Nazi?
Oh yeah, it was like, I could never date you while you still work there. You know, you're everything that's wrong with this country. You kind of
are.
Yeah, that's true. Look, I'm not arguing that point. Come on.
This is the worst thing going on in the country right now, and I'm so tired of it. And both sides do it. I do think it's more prevalent on the left. I'll say, sorry, Democrat friends. I love you. I have Democrat families that I know, or family members.
By the way, we have many Democrats that work with us, by the way. Many liberal people that work at the Daily. We do. They don't last very long.
How do they tolerate it? How do they tolerate it? I would be able to stand it, I would think, if I were them.
Well, I mean, there's plenty of...
Ben, maybe, but like...
I'm sure there's plenty... there's plenty of... first of all, just around the office, we don't talk politics very much. First, what we do when it's in, like, relation to content or something like that. But just like in our regular conversation, we talk about movies or TV. You know, we don't talk about politics that often.
Ben Shapiro's a baseball guy. I know he's a White Sox fan.
He's a big sports fan in general. He's a big White Sox fan.
He's a musician. He's a man of many talents.
He's also, it's astounding how much, because that guy works harder than probably anyone I've ever met in my entire life. The amount of his work ethic is insane. But it's also astounding to me that on top of that, how culturally relevant he stays in terms of not music. He does not stay up to date on modern music, but in terms of TV shows and movies and books and things like that, he is he watches every movie. He has probably seen every single movie.
Some of his best videos on YouTube are the Star Wars breakdowns.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
You talk about agreeing with 60% being a good day. I agree with literally everything the guy has ever said about Star Wars. It's like, yep.
Yeah.
Literally everything he said is true.
Oh, it's so funny because he takes the most controversial opinion Ben has on anything is that he likes the prequels, is that he defends the Star Wars prequels. That is the most
very good soundtracks. That's what I'll say.
The soundtrack, the sound design is amazing.
The scripts are preposterous.
Yeah,
there's some cool effects. It's it's like a Michael Bay movie in space. So here's what I'll ask. Ben Shapiro, the guy.
Yeah.
Just the guy, not cameras are off. Just you're sitting around the couches at the Daily Wire talking about the White Sox or whatever.
Yeah.
I mean, is he chill? Is he kind of
he's very chill.
He's considered kind of like an uptight priss by his critics.
Not at all.
Not at all.
That's not Ben at all. I will say he talks a lot, so he has a really good job. You get him started on something and he will talk.
His words per minute is very elitely epic.
Yeah, you get him on a subject, something he cares about, and he will talk a lot. He's very funny. He's a very funny, very personable guy, very nice guy. And I'll say this too, this is probably a side that people don't see a lot. Ben is one of the most generous people I've ever met in my life. And we spend a lot of time after we've gotten the regular work done for the day, we spend a lot of time doing like outreach things, fan things that we don't have to do, you know, that he doesn't have to do, but he wants to do.
He doesn't seem to broadcast it much.
No, we'll do like a lot of personal messages or things like that, or just do things for fans or do things to help you. Ben is like one of the most generous people who really actually cares a lot about people, and he cares about helping people. And you know, Ben's a very religious guy, and so when someone is sort of struggling with their faith, or someone is sort of dipping their toe in their faith or rediscovering things, he is very animated in terms of helping people along their journey. You know what I mean? And he'll buy books for people and send it to them in the mail, things that he thinks would help them, or help them, you know, things that he thinks they should read or things like that. He's a very generous, very hardworking guy who was like very sweet.
Is he demanding of you guys, the workers in his army there? Because he's threatened you on the ZipRecruiter.
He threatens me on ZipRecruiter every other day.
He threatened you on ZipRecruiter
publicly
today.
Threatens me.
Yeah,
regularly.
I mean, not everyone's watching this live, but you know, we're recording this on a Monday night, and if you have to go back and look at the Monday, September 14th episode of the Ben Shapiro Show, Nick gets shredded at like the 18-minute mark in the ZipRecruiter ad read. But so that's not the real guy. That's the he's not really threatening.
No,
your
he's
job.
not. I'd say Ben is he does not get angry very often. He hires people to get angry for him. You know what I mean? Around the office.
Fair enough.
He is not a very angry Ben. I've never seen Ben around the office like yell at anyone or get pissed. When Ben gets upset, he just gets quiet. You know what I mean? He would never ever yell at someone. And he mostly when he gets upset, it's just because like there's some technical glitch and he has to be there for 20 minutes longer than he would have. You know what I mean?
So he's not doing like the Amy Klobuchar, like take her shoe off and start throwing it at people.
He would never do it. We don't really have anyone like that at the office. We've got a pretty smooth operation. Yeah. And we've never had anything like that.
What's up? Ben's flagging us down here.
I gotta ask, is he a perfectionist?
He's, I don't know. I don't think you could call him a perfectionist. He's like a workaholic, but I don't know.
Maybe high standards.
High standards, but I don't know if you would call him a perfectionist in that, like, I feel like part of perfectionism is like doing something over and over and over again, wanting to get it perfectly right. You know what I mean? That's not really him. That's not really his attitude.
High standards, but not a psychopath.
High standard.
I had to ask.
Yeah.
No, you can jump in any time.
No, for sure.
This is a free format.
Yeah.
I tackled the dating scene. You said you've been blown up at. Is that safe to say?
Yeah, and I wish I wish I could remember more interesting parts of that story, because there definitely were.
If it comes to you, can let me know.
Yeah,
we got you here for a bit.
People have shared their opinions for sure.
So it's been a problem, but
pretty strongly.
You and I have a background here in Michigan.
Yeah, we've known each other for a while.
Yeah. Now we were there at different times, but you and I attended probably the most liberal high school in the state of Michigan. Cranbrook, Kingswood, DCE, maybe. Detroit Country Day.
Yeah, it's. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know if you could call it that, but
you don't think Cranbrook is liberal? That's a whole other show.
Sort of like
that's a whole other show. But
the teachers at Cranbrook were a little more like college professors. You know what I mean?
Yes.
And so they were a little. I'd say they were probably like more in tune with that kind of like collegiate liberal mindset than a standard high school. You know what I mean?
This is the most sanitized way of putting it, Nick. It was an extremely liberal school.
It was an extremely liberal school.
Actually, one of our former teachers over there is actually watching right now. I know for a fact, but I'll let you know after who that is.
No,
but it is a liberal school. The point of what I'm getting to is this. We were growing up in what I would argue is a pretty liberal bubble. I mean, I've always...
yeah, I think so, yeah.
I mean, we were there at different times, but that was certainly my experience. I'll speak from my experience.
Yeah, okay. Yeah,
and it's, obviously, because you want to push back on this Cranbrook thing because you're worried you're going to offend somebody. I get it.
I'm not worried about offending people at all.
I know.
I'll say... keep going.
But what I want to ask is, you had at least some good liberal friends, liberal background. You went to University of Michigan, correct? Yeah. Sorry, Ann Arbor's a little liberal.
It's a little bit liberal.
This has been your track.
Yeah.
Has it affected your friendships and family at all, doing the whole conservative Daily Wire thing?
I remember being much more, and by the way, I'm like pretty moderate in general. Like I'm not.
But I'm
like
talking about the association. I'm talking about
the association.
Yeah.
The association with Ben.
The guilt by association, has that been an issue? We've talked about the girlfriend thing out in LA.
I mean, just among friends, it doesn't really come up that much. But to the people, I mean, honestly, I'll say if it's a supreme problem with any of my friends who I work for or the company I work at, if that's like a supreme problem for them, like I understand, people have to do whatever they need to do to be able to get along. But, no offense, but I'm probably better off. You know what I mean? I probably didn't really need to be friends with you that much anyway. If that's a supreme issue enough for you that you say you don't want to be friends with me anymore, that's fine.
I was in a heated debate with somebody we both know, was in Les Miserables with you,
you're talking about,
and is still, by the way, a good friend of mine.
Yeah,
and I stand by that. She's a good friend of mine.
I know exactly.
I'm not going to name her because she's still a friend. We'll be nice.
A friend of mine too.
Yeah, a friend of yours too, so far as I know.
She's a great person.
Great person. Seriously,
I love her.
But she did have, which I took issue with. This isn't like talking behind her back. We had a very public discussion about this that anybody could have read. My account's actually public. That she had something on her Facebook. I'm sorry if you're ever watching this, don't say, this isn't exactly verbatim what I said, Justin, but I'm paraphrasing. Something to the effect of, it was right after the casting issue. I can't remember who it was.
Was it The Little Mermaid or?
It was, I can't remember.
Which was a non-issue.
But there was a white actress that was starring, I think maybe Scarlett Johansson, who was going to be starring
as like an Asian person,
as a disabled person.
Okay,
something to that effect.
Yeah,
and there was a whole controversy. There was this whole discussion on Facebook because there's no better place to have a political argument than Facebook. Everybody
That's true. It's the only way to go. It's the epitome of political forum.
Always ends well. Yeah, it is. People,
so many minds are changed and so many like people. Yeah, Facebook's known for bringing people together.
But her opinion was, in so many words, that white people cannot play anybody that's not white in a movie, which is okay. That's fine. Whatever. I'm fine with that. Yeah. But like, it can go the other way. So like, if you're a black person, an Asian person, whatever, that you can play a white person. And all I said was, I don't get how that makes any sense. That was my only take. I said, I don't get it. It's inconsistent. And she had a thing where basically, if you aren't okay with a non-white person playing a white person, unfriend me now. Basically, it was the whole like unfriend me now thing. That if you're not okay,
which is maybe the most annoying sentence.
But a lot of people go that route. It's the worst thing ever.
That route. Yeah,
and she was saying, doing the whole kind of like condescending. I pray that someday you learn to understand this issue better, which is just great. Yeah. It's like, it's not that like maybe I
pray for you a lot specifically, but it's not in regards to that.
Is there anything worse? Is there anything worse than when people like play the whole like, you don't get it, but I hope that one day you will.
Yeah, but like, I say it sometimes just to piss people off though.
Well, if that's your sole goal. If that's your sole goal, I guess it's effective. But
I think I said stuff like that to that girl one time, to the girl I was dating, just to piss her off at some point.
I mean, but when
you get called a Nazi enough times, you just start wanting to piss people off.
My argument was, and that thing in particular was just like, I'm fine either way. I'm fine with like, a white guy should play a white guy, like a black guy should play a black guy. I'm fine if like that's how you want to cast. I have a production company. I cast a full scale Les Miserables.
I mean, like it was pretty ridiculous when John Wayne played Genghis Khan.
Yeah, that's like, it's a little silly.
It's a little bit.
But if you're going to open it up, I'm okay with that too. My issue is like the inconsistency. So it's like, okay, we're either having completely like gender, racial, blind casting where anybody can play anybody.
Yeah.
Or we try to keep it more like kind of traditional and old school where it's like, look, maybe Jackie Chan shouldn't play Abraham Lincoln. Like,
right.
And whatever.
Yeah.
But just be consistent was my only thing. But I was told that it is worthy of ending a friendship. Now that calmed down and everyone's happy and everyone's friendly. But I was told that if I didn't change my mind or shut up, that the friendship was basically over. For what I think is a defensible take that I stand by now. Like, have you ever faced that really where people are like, just back down from this, or we're not friends? Because you're working for their devil. That's like their devil is Ben Shapiro.
Right. Yeah. I mean, by the way, anyone who Ben Shapiro is their devil clearly does not watch or understand Ben Shapiro.
They just read like headlines.
They just watch like Hassan Piker or someone yell at him for like 6 minutes, and then they decide that's, or they take, the entire, repertoire of everything he's ever said and find the 3 worst things he's ever said.
Yep.
And take that as proof positive that defines his entire soul. You know what I mean? So anyone who's that worked up, but I haven't. I'll say no one that I really care about in my life, because I have like a very core group of people that I actually care about, and no one that I really care about, at least to my face, has ever made it an issue. You know what I mean? Maybe they have an issue, and
because he's had family members in his family. Famously, I brought this up pre-show. My favorite movie as a kid, Matilda. Yeah, the cute little.
I've actually never seen it.
You've never seen?
I read
Matilda?
the book.
The book's good too.
The book's good too.
She's so cute, and she's got the little hair, the little bow in her hair, and the little ribbon, and she's just a little doll. It's like little Mara Wilson. She was in Mrs. Doubtfire, and we're his goddamn kids too. And it's just she's just adorable. Yeah. And I never knew until like a year ago that she was Ben Shapiro's first cousin.
First cousin. Yeah.
First cousins. Yeah. And you can actually kind of see it now when you look at her like. You see the relationship. You look at her like now that she's grown up, and she kind of does look like him, but she has come out and flat out said, basically, like, you can't pick your family. I'm glad that I can disown this person. Wow. And it's like, it's little Matilda, and he's first cousins with Matilda. And it's like, I just think it's so interesting that he's so polarizing, because it reminds me a lot. Do you watch Jordan Peterson at all?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
A big fan of Jordan Peterson.
He's great.
He's just fantastic and intellectual and similar.
And also like generally like not that political of a person. Is mostly just really interested in helping people.
That seems to be his MO. Yeah. But he has dipped his toes into politics, but it's more about kind of like rights and things like that than it is straight up like Republican issues or Democratic.
It's more about
issues.
rights, and also rights and responsibilities, like focusing on working on yourself.
Right.
You know what I mean?
But my point is Jordan Peterson gets that sort of similar flack where it's like he's called a member of the alt-right. He's called a Nazi. And it's like if you actually watch these people, I don't know where the Nazi sentence is in the lecture.
I mean, Jordan Peterson is like a Canadian conservative, which is like an American like moderate Democrat. Yeah. You know what I mean?
Yeah, he's not like a hard right winger by any means.
Yeah, he also is just. I mean, specifically on this is like tangential at this point, but Jordan is much more about like exploring ideas than he is about taking a hardline stance on anything, I think. Yeah. It's in sort of day-to-day political things, not on like basic rights. He takes very hard stances on fundamental rights and fundamental principles and things like that. But sort of day-to-day politics things, he's not gonna, lose sleep over any.
Have you guys? Like I know you're on the production side with the Ben Shapiro show. You're more like on the technical production side. I get that. I know you're not in the business.
Not
office.
Just technical. Yeah.
Oh yeah, you can correct. Feel free to correct me. You know what you do more than I do. But
it's technical, and then some of the creative side. Yeah.
But not the business side. You're not like
not really
numbers.
On the business side.
You're not dealing with.
No, I deal with some of it, but I'm not really making any of those decisions.
Have you guys had pressure that you're aware of from companies to pull out of advertising? You have a number of advertisers over the years. I know Media Matters likes to come after conservative outlets, particularly like Hannity. Tucker Carlson has been targeted. Yeah. I believe you've been targeted as well. Is that something you guys feel? Is that something that's on your radar?
I can't really speak to that, but I will say that's a tactic that people have started using, people that are inclined to not like us as a company. Going after people's advertisers is a pretty common tact.
So you haven't really seen it firsthand there.
Well, I just can't really speak to any of that stuff because it's not really my area of the company.
Fair enough.
But yeah.
Cancel culture, is that real? Is that
cancel culture is absolutely real.
You buy it. I buy it too.
It's real.
People think that's
real.
Like people. It's controversial.
Yeah.
I've been told that it's nothing. I had.
Well, you have to define your terms on like what cancel culture is, but definitely there are people that will try to. And frankly, it seems like a pretty one-sided thing, but there are groups of people that will attempt to outsize people from polite society based on like fairly sort of arbitrary reasons and standards that are not universally applied by any means.
I had John Wharton on my show about almost 2 weeks ago now. It was his second appearance with me. He was a longtime Red Wings trainer for years. Really a smart, interesting guy. The most watched show we've ever had. That episode, and if you add up the clips of it and the whole show, has over 50,000 views. By far our number one show. It took off, went viral. Great guy. He is a hardcore MAGA Donald Trump guy. And unapologetic, open. He attends rallies, posted on his social media with Trump. Not a hateful guy. I've never, the myth is that like if you love Donald Trump, you're absolutely a racist. Or like the guy is actually very socially liberal, which is sort of interesting. Yeah. Like, and was for a long time and has been the entire time I've known him, which is quite a while now. But the first time I had Wharton on, he's very open about his past, longtime alcoholic in recovery, had issues with, booze throughout his life and was sort of an absentee father for a period. He's totally open about this, not outing it. We talked about it on the episode the first time. And there were people that when they found out that he was appearing on my show, were the first time, more so than the second time, were so mad. They find out that this Donald Trump supporter is going on the air. They were pulling up like his old mugshot when he missed his child support payments like 15 years ago when he was like basically on the verge of dying. He was in such bad alcohol. He was like in a ditch basically.
Yeah.
And he has said, I own my mistakes. He's a successful self-employed contractor now. He's building houses and decks and bathrooms. Really smart, skilled guy. I mean, Ben, you were here with him. Great guy. Is that safe? Like
nicest guy.
Yeah, the nicest guy. Yeah. Just so laid back and nice. And he told me when he left, like, hey, you ever need anything, let me know. Happy to help you. We happy to come back, whatever. Salt of the earth guy. He just happens to really like Donald Trump. I don't really like Donald Trump all that much. I mean, to be honest, he's not my cup of tea.
There's a lot not to like.
I didn't vote for him. And Donald Trump is next on my docket with you. We're gonna unpack that. But but that was a perfect example of cancel culture where I had people that were followers of my show, some people that just didn't like my show, but they were coming after me too for having had him. There were people on Twitter that were just unloading on me, like talking about my wife and stuff like that, because I'm having this Trump guy on, who we weren't there to talk about how great Donald Trump was, although even if we were, who cares? Like, and it comes to this whole thing where anytime you say, I mean, free speech, let's say, I like free speech principles, and people say, oh, it's not the Constitution. We're not talking about the Bill of Rights. Like, I get that. No one is saying that the Congress is going to pass some law infringing upon my right to have John Wharton on. But I do believe in not just straight First Amendment rights, but the spirit of the First Amendment, which goes beyond congressional authority, where, okay, I know you can't literally arrest me for having a Donald Trump guy on, but I think the country, the culture, would be far better off if they embraced First Amendment principles where I can passionately disagree with you. Yeah. But because you have someone on that disagrees with my point of view, even vehemently, I'm not going to try to end your career or invoke family attacks on you or post something from this guy's life 16 years ago that he's atoned for. Guy has a wonderful relationship with his kids and his ex-wife.
Yeah. Well, it's the strangest thing that people will very arbitrarily decide what's outside of the Overton window. So the Overton window is like is the
explain for those that don't know what the
Overton window is a term that means the range of ideas that are sort of welcome in polite society. So like things that are very much out of the Overton window is like, being an ethno-nationalist, like white supremacist or something like that. And what used to be outside the Overton window on the left would be something like communism or something like that. At times that's been outside the Overton window, not really now at this point, but so people will very arbitrarily decide. People don't get that, like I said, I don't care for Trump very much either. I don't get attached to any political personality. Like I said, I care much more about first principles. And honestly, day-to-day politics is very, it's sort of like not just, I understand it's very important to a lot of people, but it's not as interesting to me. I care much more about first principles and like the sort of philosophical underpinnings of things. But I'll say like people, Trump supporters, that's like half the country.
Yeah.
It's like roughly half the country.
Yeah.
And many people have decided that half the country now operate outside the Overton window. It's not exactly half the country. It might be more or less. People say he lost the popular vote, but that's not a fair assessment of his base of support. But people will say that being a Trump supporter at all is outside the Overton window. And then, like you said with your friend, will very arbitrarily decide who now should be the target of what is essentially like mob justice.
Yes.
What is essentially mob justice. And they will go after people just because that person, not based on any sort of standard of decency, not based on, not based on what this person specifically has done in relation to all other people, but just because this person happens to be in front of me right now. I'm aware of this person.
Yes.
And this person says something that I ridiculously deem should be outside the bounds of polite society. So they'll go after people, and there's a strange phenomenon where when you're acting in a group that you can disassociate your actions and apply that to sort of a group action that you can like disassociate your responsibility. It's mob mentality. It's
really.
Exactly. Yeah. So people will do something on social media and, think that, oh, it's just a drop in the bucket or whatever, or sort of flippantly disregard someone because they can't actually see that person. And they don't actually, it is sort of like weird, like sociopathic behavior because you are completely disassociating yourself from any level of empathy with another human being. And it will do things that might be a drop in the bucket, but eventually that bucket fills up and people's lives can be ruined completely by arbitrary standards.
They have been.
People's lives have been ruined and will continue to be ruined as long as this stuff happens. But people don't realize that when you contribute to that you are like, you're severely impacting someone's life for a completely arbitrary and immoral standard of why you're going after this person. Generally, there are some people that I would say no one deserves mob justice. There are some people that people go after that deserve actual justice enacted upon them for whatever they've done, like a Harvey Weinstein character or something like that.
No one
deserves mob justice. Okay, that's just we figured that out. It's human nature to want to do stuff like that, but we figured out that if we're going to work together as people to, make a society where people's rights are ensured and where we can get along and like live free and try to pursue happiness in whatever way we see that as, you can't do things like that.
Are you familiar? Oh, sorry. You can finish.
No, I'm done.
Are you familiar with the famous moment in the presidential debate between George H.W. Bush and Michael Dukakis where the moderator asked, they were talking about capital punishment, and Dukakis, the Democrat, is typical liberal view on it, anti-capital punishment, does not like the death penalty. George H.W. Bush liked it. So the moderator throws to Dukakis, says, if your wife, Kitty Dukakis, was bound and raped and murdered, would you not support the death penalty? And Dukakis kind of garbled it and fell on his face, and that was sort of that moment where it was considered the election was lost for him. He just didn't have a good answer.
Yeah.
He came off as weak and came off like he wasn't defending his own wife, who in this hypothetical had the worst thing ever happened to her. I always said there was a better way to answer that. Now, this is 15 years after the fact that I was first studying this and I had time to think about it. I wasn't on the stage. But the right answer to that is not saying, I would feel sorry, but we still can't kill him. Like you can't just flub that. The right answer is, you know what, Mr. Moderator, I would want to strangle the guy. I would want to cut that guy's throat. I would want the worst thing to happen to him. I would dream about the terrible things I would do for retribution every minute of my life until I died.
Yeah.
But it's not my job to make that decision.
Right.
It's someone else's. You have to be detached from it. You can't have the emotional person make that decision. And we talked about with you losing friends. Apparently you haven't lost them, because I have. And
for every friend that I've lost, I've gained 5.
Well, that's good.
Yeah.
Mine's the other way. For every one I gain, I lose 5. But that's why my circle keeps shrinking. But it's actually been much better. I kind of like a smaller circle. It's, fewer people bugging me. Mm-hmm. But there was one incident in particular where it's a white supremacist march. I don't know. I can't remember if it was Charlottesville or not. Obviously, a terrible situation. Anti any white supremacist march. I
think we can all agree on that.
That's a given. Like if any person of decency. But there was an issue in a circle of friends that I had, some still have, where people were throwing bricks and punching these protesters, I guess. I mean, they're scumbags too. And
punching the Nazi guys?
Punching the Nazi guys. Yeah. And what I said in this group chat was like, look, I am not going to shed a single tear for the Nazi that got hurt. I don't care. But you use the phrase in a polite society, in a law-abiding society, we can't in good faith endorse throwing bricks at people because, then you get into like, okay, what is a Nazi? Maybe that guy was a Nazi, but if you start saying it's okay to literally kill or severely maim somebody that you disagree with politically, you're opening up Pandora's box. You can not feel sorry for the guy that got a brick thrown at him. You can say, you know what, probably had it coming. But if you can't take the legal position, the social position that we should not even prosecute someone that does that, you have to prosecute it.
Yeah. I mean, you have to. It's listen, I get it. I would love to. It would feel very good to punch a Nazi in the face.
I'm with you.
It would feel very, very good as a Jewish person. It would feel very good. I would feel very satisfied on a personal level.
Yes.
But here's the thing. What a lot of people don't get is we make rules as a society to figure out how we can all get along. And the rules that you make, the one of the beauties of the system that we set up in the United States is I think it is one of the best systems where it doesn't really matter that much who is holding the reins of power. It doesn't really matter that much because the system of checks and balances that we've set up, if you get one weak link, it will get checked and also it will get replaced pretty soon.
Yes.
It doesn't, it takes a lot to move the gears of
It's built for gridlock.
It's built for gridlock. It takes a lot to move the gears and it takes a lot to move us in any direction. And usually we can course correct before things get too far. The rules that you make, they need to be applicable in all contexts. You can't give one person power that you don't want someone else to have. Because eventually someone else is going to have it. So in terms of free speech, like I said, I would love to punch a Nazi in the face. There's a lot of people I would love to punch in the face. Nazis very high on that list.
Yeah.
But once you start regulating someone's speech, you have to be very, very careful about what you're regulating. Because once you decide that we want to give the people that rule over us the power to decide what we can and can't say, once you give them that power, who's to say who's going to wield that power in the future? Who's to say that the person who decides what people can say now is not going to be someone else in the future? And, there are a lot of people right now that would really like to censor people's speech. And like you were talking about with cancel culture, are using sort of mob justice to try to go after people's speech and are literally using mob tactics, terrorist tactics, using threats and violence to try to get people in a state of fear, to be afraid of everything that they're saying. People are saying, I want you to be afraid of what you think.
Yes.
I want you to be afraid of what you think. I want you to be afraid to say it. And I'm going to scare you to the point where you'll just shut up and let us take over and let us be in charge and rule over you. Well, as soon as you give that power up, to the people that rule over you, it's game over, man. It's game over.
I had people that were trying with John Wharton the first time again. I didn't really get pulled back the second time. The first time we're trying to block it before it even happened because as we normally do, like we did with you, we teased it a few days in advance. Here's who's coming on in a few days. And I was getting destroyed for having this guy just because he was a Trump fan. I mean, they were trying to get us to say, no mas, wave the white flag, which luckily, you can't really cancel me. Like, I'm running my own thing here.
Right.
I'm a owner of the company I work for. So you can't really cancel me. It's the same thing.
Yeah.
People with Clay Travis, who, we've talked about Clay Travis a few times on this show in the past, but
he comes on our show a lot.
Yeah, Clay, and I like Clay. I disagree with plenty that Clay says. I think he can be kind of an ass in his own regard, but is a very talented guy, and I like a lot of what he does. But, he owns his company. I mean, he has some tie-ins with Fox, absolutely. But at the end of the day, he has a multi-million-dollar company that he started, that he runs, and I think there's power in that. But it's like, my thing with this, and we're seeing it a lot in sports too, but I think the key is you just got to say no. And not enough people are willing to just say no. It's I'm going to give. I'm going to try to.
I'm going to come out and apologize for what I said, even though I don't really believe the apology.
And I believe in apologies if
you've done something wrong.
Yeah.
If you've done something wrong, because people make mistakes. People make mistakes all the time. I've made plenty. I'm sure you've made plenty.
Yeah, one or two.
One. Yeah. And
years ago,
they were big though.
Yeah, they're huge. Make them big. Make them big. If you're going to make them, make them big.
Do it.
But the point is, like, I'm not anti. Look, and that's the thing with Donald Trump. It's like, you'd be so much better off if you just showed 5% humility, not weakness, but just like a little bit of humility.
That's one thing that he is severely lacking in. There are many things that he's severely lacking in, but he cannot admit he's wrong about anything.
Anything, even when it's obvious. And for all the crap that Republicans heaped on Obama, I could find 10 videos where on YouTube, I've seen them, I've watched them, where he was like, "Yep, did the best we could with the information we had at the time. Had I had a chance to look back and do that differently, I would have." He's done that before with things he said, with things he's handled. And you can say whatever you want about Obama. I happen to think he was unfairly maligned in a number of ways by the right. I don't think he was
no doubt
half as bad as his critics say. He had legitimate concerns with him. He was treated with kid gloves. But I think he was a good person. I really do. I know your boss wrote a book about how he basically should be arrested. So I get that there's the other perspective, but at least for whatever you can say about him, there's some tapes I can pull where he's like, I wish I would have done that a little differently. Yeah. We don't have that from Donald Trump, but at least like once in a while, apologize if you do something bad, that's fine. Once in a while, you got to push back a little bit and just tell people no. And no one's willing to say no anymore. No, it's like everyone just folds up tent, and that's where my concern is. Like we're moving into a direction where all I have to do to change your mind is not have a better idea than you, not propose something better. I just have to intimidate you.
Yeah.
I just have to scare you.
Yeah.
That's not good for the country.
Yeah.
That's bad for us.
Ultimately, the only way to spread your ideas is you need to just put your ideas out in the the free market of ideas,
the marketplace of ideas.
The marketplace of ideas.
Yes.
And if your ideas are good, they will win out. And all these people have started saying like, well, but the game's not rigged. The game's rigged now. The game's rigged because I've put out my ideas, but the other ideas are winning. Well, maybe it's time to start reassessing your ideas. People think that they need to institute these violent intimidation tactics because their ideas are not winning out. So now they're saying by any means necessary, my ideas will spread. Well, if your ideas are not holding water out in the free market of ideas, then maybe it's time to reassess. I will say there are, it does exist that there are people that will play to people's most base emotions, and they will get people to act out of fear. They will get people to act out of anger. But there are people, it exists. It happens. But ultimately, I think people over the course of time think with their heads. And I have a lot more, humanity has a lot of base problems, but I think in the end, people will think with their heads, and the good, and generally, the good ideas inevitably will win out, hopefully, if you foster a system where those ideas can be spread in a peaceful way. You know what I mean? Where people won't be intimidated to think things.
And I think that concept is a large reason why Donald Trump won in 2016, is there's this perception out there, which is just bizarre. I've never understood it. I know a ton of Trump voters. None of them have reflected this. There's a perception out there that Trump awakened the quiet racist nationwide, and that was why he won. That there was half the country's racist, and they were just waiting for their torchbearer.
If you really think half the country is racist, then you should run. You should get out of here.
A lot of people do.
I know a lot of people think that. You should get out of here, because that's a dangerous place to be.
It's not a fringe place to be, though. That's the town square on the left right now, and it's bizarre because I know Trump voters in my friendship circle, in my family, and I'm not hearing them like drop the N-word. I wouldn't be hanging out with them if they did.
Yeah.
I would have nothing to do with them because I don't have any time for that. I've been socially liberal basically my whole life. So it's like, if anyone's out there in this Trump circle talking trash about some minority group or something, it's like I would disown them immediately.
Yeah.
So I don't get that. I don't see where that's coming from. So I don't see that. I think he had an effective approach, and he was, and this is not something a lot of people know, he was going to even small little conservative radio shows like in small towns and listening. I got this directly from Roger Stone, who was on my show, his original campaign manager. Talk about a firecracker. Roger Stone, that's a whole other can of worms. Yeah. But Roger Stone told me off air that Trump was listening to little town conservative radio shows. Now, he was listening to Limbaugh and watching Hannity and listening to Hannity's radio show too. But he was listening to what they were saying. And they felt that they had been disenfranchised by not just the Democrats, not just Barack Obama, but the politicians. That they were forgotten. That Mitt Romney, another Cranbrook guy like you and I, was seen as, highfalutin, and he's a billionaire. It's like he doesn't need us. He was sort of a limousine Republican. Yeah. And they felt that they had been kind of forgotten and neglected. And he spoke to them. It wasn't racist.
Well, that's one. Yeah. So that's one thing that a lot of people don't understand. We have a very large country with very many people.
Yes.
And we have a lot of different, like people live in many different ways all around the country. It's almost like we have, like we say, we're the United States. State means, in other parts of the world, state means country. We're literally like 50 different countries that are all held together with this federal system. And different people around the nation have very widely varying priorities of what they care about most. And someone in Los Angeles has extremely different priorities than someone that lives in Bismarck.
Yes.
Okay. Yeah. It's like, and so what a lot of people don't understand, and so many of the people that just talk about racial politics all the time, I feel like they don't understand. Very many people in the country do not spend very much time at all obsessing over people's race.
No,
they don't think about people's
I don't know
race.
anybody that does.
I don't.
Do you?
I know many people, mainly on the left, who they're
no, but in your circle.
Oh, in my circle.
Are you at the bar, like sitting there talking about like black guys or like Asian women or white dudes not. Or? It's like it doesn't come up.
There very few people are upset. So that's one thing that people don't understand is people that are very inclined to be focused on racial politics don't understand. They say they are so focused on racial politics, and it's natural to sort of innately assume that other people's priorities are similar to your own. Mm-hmm. So if people are going out and supporting Trump, which, I don't particularly like him, but I don't in any way look down on people that do support him. If people are out supporting Trump, they must assume that they can assume, well, if their priorities are similar to mine, then, and I am basing my vote mainly on my racial political orientation, then these people must be opposite me. So they must be racist. When in reality, people just have different priorities. And people are not very many people do not they do not view the world through a lens of race. And that's how a lot of people would like to view the world right now. They like to view the world through a lens of race.
I feel bad. Like you see someone like Candace Owens, who, again, not endorsing everything Candace Owens has ever said. So calm down. But you have someone who is a black conservative, a very, to this point, far right-wing conservative. She keeps going more and more to the right. but she's told she isn't a real black person, quote.
Yeah. Well,
for having those views.
I met Candace recently, and
you've met Candace.
Yeah, and she, first of all, she's very sweet. A lot of people would like you to believe that she's the most evil, mean, terrible lady in the world. She's
you to believe she's a firecracker.
She's a firecracker because she'll stand up. Because
I wouldn't say evil, but
people come
tough.
after her very hard.
Cardi B, famously.
Yeah. I was there all for in the middle of that whole row with Cardi B, but
she was on the Sunday special.
Yeah,
with Ben.
Yeah. Very recently. Came out a couple. Everyone go watch Sunday special.
It's really good. The Candace Owens one is good.
Yeah.
But she's still a black person, right? Can we?
But this is something she talked about on the Sunday special.
Her black card.
People will, like when Joe Biden said, "If you don't vote for me, you're not black."
Yeah, you ain't black.
You ain't black. Yeah, it's like what a terrible, terrible thing to say to somebody. You could hold the opinion that if you care about racial politics very much, if that's a priority for you, you could hold the opinion that you think Joe Biden's policies will be better for black Americans. But for the guy to come out and say something like that, I mean, that's just we shouldn't be saying things like that, man. That's a terrible thing to say. It's a terrible thing to say that Joe Biden controls someone's blackness.
Yes.
I mean, come on.
Of all people too. Like if anybody controlled someone's blackness, it wouldn't be Joe Biden.
But this is one thing that Candace said is that, I mean, I won't say it exactly right, but she talked about being a black conservative. She said, it's not just that people don't like you, it's that people want you gone. They don't want you to exist. They don't want you to exist. They want to remove your humanity, and they want to remove you from polite society because you are going against the narrative that they're trying to show. And
it's a wicked thing.
It's insidious. It really is.
It's evil. I think it is a wicked place to go. And I think it's something that what's bad for one should be bad for all. And it's a bad idea any way you slice it. Just like someone...
Whenever anyone says something about Candace or Kanye or, any other...
Race-related. There's fair criticisms on those tables.
Yeah, but anytime anyone says that, something like that they hate Candace because she's a black conservative, I always say, this is obviously an ironic thing to say. I don't mean this literally. But I would say, isn't it frustrating when those black people won't think the way they're supposed to? You know what I mean? Because that's literally what you're saying. Yeah. You're saying, black people are supposed to think a certain way.
Right.
And when when one of them doesn't think that way, we need to get rid of them.
Canceled.
You're canceled.
Right. Canceled.
People can think however they want to think. People,
it's so dumb.
Try to take in all the correct information. Try to and act as you think is right. Act as your worldview compels you to act.
Yes. I think that's where it needs to go. I think here's what I'll say. Ben Shapiro, your boss, has said something that I agree with wholeheartedly regarding particularly the 2020 presidential election.
Yeah.
We're knocking on the door. We're about 2 months away?
Something like
little under 2 months now. I mean, it's like 50 days.
September, October. Yeah, 50 days. I think yesterday was 50 days.
Knocking on the door.
Yeah.
It's going to be here any second. Your guy has said repeatedly, all the Democrats had to do was not be crazy. Yeah. I did a political show a year ago before we had the format here with the nice cameras and the producer and the nice TV and everything. I did a show a year ago saying that if I were a paid consultant for the Democrats, where I get a $10 million bonus if they win in 2020, November 2020, the presidential election, my number one advice would be just kind of stay a little bit more to the middle. Don't go into the far left lane. Even if I want far left policies enacted, even if I am a Bernie Sanders far left guy, just from a strategic campaign standpoint, I wouldn't make that pitch. And now I think the Democrats, whatever you think, if you hate the cops, you love the cops, that's a whole other can of worms. But just from a strategic standpoint, my only job is to get your ass in the White House. Joe Biden, you're hiring me. My only job. I don't care about anything else but you winning in November. What I am doing is crafting a message more towards that middle lane, because I don't think this whole sort of naughty approach to riots in the streets in major cities and cops being summarily executed while they're sitting there on a patrol doing nothing.
This just happened recently.
horrible if you haven't seen the video. It's disturbing to watch.
Insane.
And Biden comes out, again paraphrasing, but says something to the effect of like, oh, the violence has got to stop. And it's like, no, like you got to call it what it is. It is people in a very specific sect of this country.
Yeah.
The far left, the BLM movement that is doing this stuff in the same way that Trump had a enormous failing by saying, oh, the whole both sides argument. Like this guy was bad, this guy was bad. It's like, no, a guy that loves you, that's on the far right, that is basically a Confederate, mowed down a protester in the street.
Yeah.
That was bad.
Yeah.
Say that right-wing guy was bad, that these views are evil. Don't. Despite
the fact that people majorly misattribute what Trump said that day, he still did not handle that day very well.
No, it's misused now.
It's misused now. That was arguably one of the worst days for Trump. Was the stuff, that way he handled
top three.
Yeah, definitely top three.
Yeah.
But I mean, the way that Biden has handled all of, the violence and everything that's going on right now, it's just the fact that he comes out and says, and by the way, I'm not talking about what I think is right. I'm just talking about, from a strategic standpoint.
That's what we're talking about.
We're talking about from a strategic standpoint. This is not so much my opinion, but I mean, Joe Biden really shot himself in the foot with what he did there. I mean, every time one of those videos comes out of people getting harassed at restaurants, people getting screamed at. Did you see all these videos?
Oh, yeah.
People, if you refuse to put up the power fist or whatever, that people are going to scream at you and accost you. People are going to verbally assault you, knock your table over, trash your restaurant.
Yes.
Every time one of those videos comes out, 100 Trump supporters are born.
Right.
Like every time that happens. Out of spite. Yeah. People that are just saying like, well, whatever side that is, I'm not on that side. You know what I mean? Whatever ridiculous thing Trump says, they'll deal with it as long as it means I'm against those people.
I'm sitting here 49 days away from the election.
Yeah.
I did not vote top of the ticket in 2016. I could not vote for either of them. Hillary Clinton, Donald Trump did not meet my threshold for who should be president of the United States from a character standpoint, not more so than even policies. I'm sitting here 49 days away from making the same douche or turd decision that I faced 4 years ago. And everyone talks about, and I used to say this, I said this my whole life up until 4 years ago. Oh, no one's really undecided going into the debates. Like, you got to be, who are these assholes on CNN? They always bring out like the panel of dopey people that are like, undecided voters. Who do you think won? Ronald?
I feel like 50% of the people going into the debates this time are going to be undecided.
I'm Ronald. I used to make fun of Ronald. There's always that dumb, like, Ronald from Delaware. What did you think of the debate? Oh, I don't know. Well, he made a good point there, but then again, Hillary said this. I made fun of those people as rubes.
Yeah.
I'm the rube now.
Yeah. I would be pretty happy with a generally like moderate sort of like 1990s Democrat winning.
Give me
you know
Bill.
What I mean? Yeah,
Give me Bill minus the cum stain on the dress.
Yeah, minus the rapiness.
Yes,
that'd be fine. But the Democrats, I mean, just talking from a strategic standpoint, the Democrat, like you said, all they had to do was not be crazy.
Yeah.
They are doing everything they can.
I'm 49 days away
to throw this in the trash.
My vote, I'm up for grabs. Yeah. I live in Michigan. You're probably registered in California.
I'm registered in California. Yeah.
So you're nothing. I mean, your
no one gives a shit about me.
Yeah, you can light your ballot on fire, baby.
Yeah, for all
I'm in Michigan. My vote fucking matters.
Right. It insanely much.
Ben's vote matters. I don't know what Ben and I don't really talk about this stuff. I don't know where Ben sits on this whole thing if he's decided.
But let's get it on record, Ben.
I used to make it's up to him. 49 days away. The people that I made fun of my whole life. How do you not know a month before? Come on, every asshole knows. I don't know. And this isn't just this is the second time in a row I don't know. I could see myself not voting top of the ticket again. I can't believe I'm going to go 12 years, because I voted in 2012. It'd be 2024. 12 years between casting a vote in the election. I'm going to go. I'm going to vote down ticket.
Yeah.
I'm not going to abstain. But I might abstain at the top of the ticket. But there's you said half the country, maybe a bit of an exaggeration, but there is a large swath.
There's a very large swath of undecideds.
I talk to these people in my family friendship circle. There have never been so many undecided.
Yeah.
So
they are very legitimately undecided.
I am. Yeah. My wife, who you're friends with as well, we can go say hi to her after this. She'll tell you I'm not just. I never lie to the cameras. Everything I say here, I tell you exactly what I feel, for better or for worse. It's gotten me into some trouble over the years.
Yeah.
This is me. I don't know what I'm going to do, but from the strategic standpoint, I'm convincible. If Joe Biden had gotten up there and said, this stuff is wrong, I want you guys to knock it off. Knock it off.
Yeah.
You do not represent me. I am I want nothing to do with you. In the same way that it took Donald Trump like 6 tries to disassociate from David Duke. He did eventually, the KKK David Duke. He got there. Took way too long. He took flack for that, and he deserved it. And that was one of the reasons why I could never really vote for him as much as I hated Hillary.
Biden came out and he said, I condemn all violence, and then he specifically named right-wing militia and all this stuff.
Right.
And it's like, and then everyone and then people said he refuses to condemn Antifa or communist anarchist rioters or whatever. He refuses to condemn those people. And then everyone in the media says, well, he said he condemns everybody, so he did condemn them. He's like,
he's covered.
I'm going to condemn all violence, and then I'm going to specifically call out all of those people who I perceive to be politically opposite, who it won't hurt my base of, it won't touch my base of supporters to say that these people need to stop this kind of violence. It's just like, you need to call it out where it's happening.
Exactly.
Trump needed to call it out in Charlottesville.
Yes.
Trump needed to call it out when David Duke was endorsing him. Biden hasn't addressed the fact that what's his face, Richard Spencer, has endorsed him. Maybe he has commented on it. I don't know.
I didn't even see that.
Yeah, white supremacist Richard Spencer is endorsing Joe Biden. When he endorsed Trump the first time, it was in an entire news cycle.
Another guy that got punched in the face. But I don't understand. That's interesting. I don't know what his logic is. Not that I really care to dive into the mind of Richard Spencer.
Yeah, I don't like. That's like, I don't take anything he says very seriously. So
they're blowing this, though. That's my point.
Yeah, they're blowing it hard.
If your job is to get him elected, what are they doing?
Completely free of my sort of opinions about things. Just it's my opinion of how people perceive what's going on right now.
Yes.
The worst thing he did was pick Kamala Harris as his running mate.
Made no sense.
It made absolutely no sense.
Not going to carry a state for you.
And Kamala is, very many politicians are very cynical liars. Kamala Harris is like first string cynical liar. She is like, and she had literally just been slamming Biden as a racist who didn't want her to go to a desegregated school.
Right.
And now she refuses to answer the question. And then she comes out and says, and when Stephen Colbert made the mistake of asking her a real question, and he said, well, why did you say that Biden was a racist 5 minutes ago? And she said, well, because it was a debate. So you basically just said, oh, because it was a debate, so I lied.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I had to attack him.
Yeah.
And it's funny because she, like we said, she didn't carry a state for him. California was a given. It's on the scoreboard already. Everyone knows that. Yeah. So he's not gonna carry California for him. And she was wildly unpopular in her own primary.
She's wildly unpopular.
Like, her own people didn't like her on the Democratic side.
Like, if you're looking at it like very cynically and looking at like the racial demographics of stuff, like Joe Biden had more black support than Kamala Harris did. So it's like, it's not like you're picking her. If you're very close, again, this is not my opinion. I don't think people should think like that. In an ideal world, we wouldn't have to think like that.
No, but we're doing the cynical strategist here.
Yeah, cynical strategist thing.
Yeah.
Is that if you're looking at it that way, like she doesn't change anything in that regard. And she's just, there's so much ammunition against her as just like, she's
terrible.
Yeah.
I find her so unpalatable. It's funny because I'm just like nowhere near the intellect, but I'm just like Jordan Peterson, where I'm like this moderate, like left leaning even on some things, and I get accused of being right wing just because like you're almost accused of being right wing if you're not, like Joe Rogan, who is a left leaning moderate at best.
Who supported Bernie Sanders.
Maybe even flat out liberal at this point. He's very pro Second Amendment. Other than that, that guy's a Democrat. And people call him like an alt-right guy. I've been accused of being a far right-wing guy just because I don't think Donald Trump is like the worst thing that's ever happened to all of mankind. I think he's a deeply flawed guy. Didn't vote for him, probably not voting for him again.
I think we can all agree that like ideally he wouldn't be president.
No, it's not an ideal. It's a departure from the ideal that Donald Trump was president. Sorry, John Wharton. Sorry, John Wharton.
Yeah,
but he's not great. There's some problems. I think he's been horrible for the discourse. Let's get down to brass tacks with him. And for the record, I've only made one political donation in this cycle, and it was for a Democrat. My sweetheart, Tulsi Gabbard.
Wow.
I love
Tulsi.
I love Tulsi.
Yeah. But who doesn't love Tulsi? She's obviously not perfect, but who doesn't
I like
love
Tulsi. Keep us out of the wars,
Yeah, keep us out. Yeah, that's one like, yeah, okay. I won't get into
Trump's
it,
kept us out of the war. But
that's
for the
what I was gonna
record,
say.
anyone saying I'm an alt-righter, I've made what, and campaign, you can Google it. You can Google my campaign. It's
Not
public.
starting another useless war is a pretty good way to assess a president, I think.
Yeah, and he's done good in that regard. And that's
Yeah.
part of why I love Tulsi is like, I'm not a total isolationist, but can we calm down with everything, like in some conflict every 6 months? But let's get down to brass tacks. We'll wrap with the Donald Trump stuff on this. 2020, we're here. We're knocking on the door. Just get down to it. Who wins? Who wins? Shapiro was saying for all of 2015 and 2016 that the Trump thing was going to fizzle out. He went on the next day after that election, owned it, said he was wrong.
Yeah.
He has been extremely reticent to say anything.
Yeah.
I don't think the Daily Wire, though, you guys don't know who's going to win over there. You don't have a feel for it, I feel like.
It's
I know
tough. I mean, things change so fast. Even though we're like 50 days out, 49 days out, whatever it is.
Yeah.
Things change so fast. And so, I won't be able to make a strong prediction until a week before or 2 weeks before.
What about the debate? The debate is 2 weeks away. I think we'll have some more clarity then.
Yeah.
If that actually goes off.
I mean, I think, the debate definitely favors Trump.
He's more of a brawler.
Trump's more of a brawler, and he's better. I mean, Joe Biden, frankly, is on teleprompter most of the time.
Yes.
And debates are a lot about perception. And the biggest thing that people are looking for in the president is someone that they think is strong and will lead and will go in the ring for you.
Yes.
You know what I mean? And Trump will literally go in the ring for you. So I think the debates favor Trump. It depends on what kind of format the debates are. I think they're going to be in person. And
supposedly there might be just one. I mean, there
might just be one.
That's the rumor.
Did you hear the other day it literally just, I think the news broke today that Rogan the other day had, he had, I think, Tim Kennedy on his podcast.
I saw this.
Yeah. And they were talking about the debates, and he asked them, like, would you host a debate? And he said, I would host it if it was just Trump and Biden, no one else in the room. Just the three of us in the room. It was like 4 hours long, and we could do long form discussion and all that stuff. And Trump said, like, that I'm pretty sure it was confirmed that it was legit. That he said that Trump was like, yeah, I'll do it.
Oh, see, I didn't hear that part.
Yeah, Trump,
I didn't hear that
I think
Trump was on
today.
board.
I think it's real.
I saw an article as well.
Yeah,
Trump came out. He was on board with that.
Yeah, I think Trump tweeted. I think it's real. I mean, correct me if I'm wrong, but I'm pretty. No, I mean that would be.
Would you let that happen if you're Joe Biden?
If you're Joe Biden's people, you would not let that.
That's
happen.
not his.
Right down in Texas.
Look, you can hate Trump, but you gotta have some semblance of objectivity.
Yeah, I mean, we're looking. I'm not a fan of Trump very much, but looking at this objectively, that would be a nightmare for Joe Biden.
It's a bad fight for him.
People can whistle past the graveyard as much as they want, but Joe Biden is like not a very strong. Like the version of Joe Biden that we have right now is not a very charismatic, not very strong, he's just not as with it as he used to be. And he wasn't necessarily that with it before. He
was people going, like, I've looked back at some of the old clips when he was running in 2008 in the primary, and he reminded me a little bit of George W. Bush in that, like, he would have kind of flubs and say weird stuff, and you're kind of like, what? Like, there's a lot of like, what?
Yeah,
what
Bush would do that all the time. Yeah,
often. But I never thought Bush was like not with it. And I didn't think at the time that Biden was like out to lunch. A little bit spacey, a little bit of an odd guy. Yeah. But not like deteriorating in any appreciable way.
And Trump's not that charismatic when he's on teleprompter. He's really not.
He's the worst teleprompter reader in history.
He's terrible at teleprompter. He looks at it and it's like you can tell that he's just reading it and stuff. But when Trump's off teleprompter, like, he's very charismatic. Yes. And that's one of the reasons why people like him so much. But I mean, like, it was so fun. It was kind of funny. One thing I noticed at the DNC when Biden came out to speak, and they played this like really great like sizzle reel before of Joe Biden's whole history and when he started in government when he was like 12 years old, and he going all the way up and all these great speeches that he had given and like very charismatic one-liner things.
Yeah.
And then he comes, and so he's like very loud and very charismatic, and then the actual guy comes out and he's like, well, for our country.
That's what I mean. He had it. That's why it's because you were saying, I don't know if he ever was that sharp.
Well,
whatever
he wasn't.
you said.
I mean, he wasn't.
He was.
I'm saying. I mean, he was definitely in comparison to what he is now.
Significantly better.
Yeah.
And there's been
I'm not saying he was a bad politician before. I'm just saying he wasn't the most charismatic politician ever.
No.
He wasn't like Obama charismatic or anything like that.
No.
He was likable. He was especially likable when he was vice president, just because he was like crazy old Uncle Joe. Yeah, he was Uncle Joe, and everyone liked him. And then, Uncle Joe was a little creepy sometimes and would get a little handsy with, and it would be like, oh, that's Joe. You know what I mean? But now that people actually have to make a choice about it and say like, oh, that guy's going to be at the top. And,
I think the smart Democrats know where the gaps are. I mean, Nancy Pelosi is already planting the seed of like, oh, I wouldn't even debate Donald Trump. I wouldn't legitimize him. It's like, sorry, Nancy. He's the duly elected president of the United States.
Yeah.
It's a legitimized individual by default.
Yeah.
You can hate him. You can think he's the worst person ever. But by definition, he's legitimate. I mean,
he's the legitimate
he's a
president.
sitting president. No one's like trying to get him out anymore. I mean, I guess they tried.
Yeah. Well, it's this, a lot of people say a couple of things to delegitimize it, and I'll just go on this tangent real quick, is that people will say like Russian collusion or whatever. There's so much to that. I can't even get into that. I don't know where to begin with that stuff, but people say like, oh, he lost the popular vote. Well, that's not a very legitimate argument, because that's like saying like, oh, the other basketball team should have won because they scored more overall baskets when the other team scored all 3-pointers. Yeah. You know what I mean? It's just like, if that were the game that they were playing, then that if the game was to score the most overall baskets, ball through the hoop baskets, then they would have been playing that game, but they didn't. Their strategy was to do all 3-pointers, and they got all 3-pointers and they won. Same thing as with Trump. Like, if it were just popular vote, would have run a very different campaign. Who knows? Would have won, would have lost, maybe. I don't know. But to say that Trump is illegitimate because he lost the popular vote, it's like, that's not they would have run a different campaign if those were the rules of the game.
I mean, you made the great analogy, and it's so funny you used the basketball one. I don't know if I stole this from
the sports show, right?
Yeah, I don't. Well, it is.
Yeah.
But I actually likened it at the time, not to a straight basketball game, but like a 3-point contest where, Michigan and Florida were the money ball. For those of you guys that, know a 3-point contest, it's like there's 5 racks around the 3-point line. And, I think there's 4 balls or 5 balls that are the normal ball. And then like the money ball is the last shot on each rack, and it counts for 2. Michigan, Florida, Trump made the money balls. Yeah. And so Hillary made more of the orange balls. Trump won he hit the money shots more. And, and that's what it was. And it's like, it's like you're 6 years old and you're playing Monopoly and you lose and you're like bitching about the rules after the fact. It's really unbecoming. Yeah. I mean, I think it's been 4 years of what was done to Brett Kavanaugh was a disgrace. Yeah. I don't care what side
that did more to make that probably the situation with Brett Kavanaugh, and we don't have to get into all the details, but just looking at it from a pure like strategy perspective, that probably created more Trump supporters than anything that has happened besides maybe these riots.
It was wrong what they did on a moral level. It had no basis in anything just. It was pure politics trying to block someone.
It was pure disgusting politics that was meant to destroy someone's life.
Yes.
And was purely cynical, and there was no moral standard to it.
But that's my issue with their whole thing. Again, morally, but also from that strategic standpoint, from that perspective, where they have spent 4 years. Trump is evil. Republicans are evil. All cops are bad. Everything is just. They're bad. They're evil. I hate them. If you think this, I'm not going to be friends with you. If you vote for this guy, unfriend me now, unfollow me. All this. Everything is like negging the other side. Mm-hmm. Tell me why your ideas are better. Don't tell me why this guy's evil. And again, moderate, voted for Obama one of the 2 times, didn't vote for Trump in 2016. I'm not hiding the ball here. I'm available. I'm ready to be convinced. Convince me. But tell me, Joe Biden, tell me, Democrat friends, why your ways are better. Don't tell me why everything on this side is evil. Why are you good? Why are your ideas good? No one's making that argument.
Yeah.
No one is.
Yeah.
Have you heard that argument? Because I haven't.
Well, the entire DNC was Trump is bad.
Yeah.
That was the motto of the DNC.
What are you running on?
Yeah, it was like they spent 4 nights or whatever. They avoided talking about their actual platform. Because all they're running, and Frank, I mean, honestly, strategically, I don't know if it's the best move, but it's a strong move just to say, we're not Trump. But you also have to
strong
say we're
only
not
because of Biden. Sorry to interrupt. Only because Joe Biden's the candidate, because that's their best play.
Well, yeah, it depends. It would depend slightly on who it is, but I think it universally could be a pretty strong move. Just to say, because like we said, all they had to do was not be crazy and not be Trump.
Yeah, fair.
And that Trump is generally like, I mean, if you're just looking at the data, is an extremely unlikable figure.
He's an ass.
He's an asshole.
Yeah.
He's pompous.
He's not a good person.
Yeah, he's clearly, he in his personal life has done many immoral things, has not acted in a way that many sort of conservative or religiously minded people would want their children to emulate. You know what I mean? And the
Bible's his favorite book, and then the reporter asks, "What's your favorite verse?"
Yeah.
Well, I don't like to get into that. That's very personal. That's very personal.
He doesn't know what the book says.
Like that's the issue.
He doesn't know what's
just
in the
book. Just say John 3:16.
Yeah, just say whatever. And
man, like I don't know, something in Corinthians or something.
I forgot why we were.
The point is that this was the most winnable election ever.
Yeah.
They might still win anyway.
They might.
But this is like a limp across the finish line. I feel like if I had been advising this campaign, this bitch would be in the bucket already. They would have it. It'd be done. Trump would be toast. They've had every advantage. The country didn't really like them all that much before COVID. COVID tanked a successful economy, starting to rebound now a little bit. They had every advantage. Why is this thing even a question?
It really seems like Trump is trying hard to lose this election, but the Democrats are just trying way harder to lose this election.
Like, here,
they really are.
Take it.
Yeah, both of them. It's like two teams trying to throw the game. It's like
that episode of South Park, like where they don't want to keep playing baseball all summer.
That's what it really feels like. Trump is being so stupid and just practicing political malpractice.
Yeah.
And so many of the things he's saying, and he is so. Just sometimes he is so dumb what he does and shoots himself in the foot so hard.
Repeatedly.
But every time he shoots himself in the foot, the Democrats like plant a landmine and step on it.
Yeah.
Like it's sometimes embarrassing to watch.
I'm mad on principle at both of them. Like just as a human being with like a rational brain.
Yeah. The fact that if our system is broken in any way, it's that these are the two choices that we're left with at the end.
Yeah.
But then again, that system is not set up. That's not the government. That's not the governmental system. That's the party system. That's the primary system, which is a pretty lousy system.
Well,
I don't know what the best system would be, but
strictly from like a campaigning standpoint, though, if you go back, I'm a sucker for like old presidential speeches. I've watched like old JFK stuff 5,000 times. And I like to read speeches, like some of the George Washington stuff from 200 plus years ago. It's awesome.
Yeah.
But you look at what Obama was saying both times, 2008 and 2012. Both times was all the things, his vision for America, what he wants to see, all the things he wants to do. We're that country on the hill. We can strive that. We're not meeting what we can meet. We're not meeting our standard, but we are inherently good. Yeah. It was a positive message. He didn't get up there and say John McCain's evil, or George Bush, 4 more years. Now some Democrats did, but Obama didn't, very seldomly, and certainly not in his speeches. Maybe on the trail, but it was a positive message about all the things he wanted to do. Whatever you think of him. Strategic standpoint, we've had our strategy hat on for like 45 minutes. That was smart.
Yeah.
So you have to throw, you're running against a very polarizing, unpopular president. I'm not saying don't criticize the incumbent. The incumbent has a huge advantage inherently. You got to criticize the incumbent because you have to give someone an incentive to change, but it has to be in conjunction. It has to be attached.
You have to have positivity about it.
With what you're going to do.
Yeah. If you're saying the country is terrible and you're saying, the country is terrible, racist place, but if you put me in charge, then I'll do something to fix it. It's like you need to make people excited to vote for you. You know what I mean? If you say that the country's a terrible, awful, no good, racist place, people are going to say, well, what's the point? You know what I mean? Why am I getting out there to vote? So like the DNC was like one big funeral fest of saying Trump is terrible and the country is racist or whatever. It wasn't exactly that, but that's basically been the Democratic platform is like, what the Democrats keep saying is
the country sucks.
The country sucks, and so
that's where we're at.
The country is only good when we're in charge of it.
Does the country suck, Nick Sheehan?
No,
I don't think so.
The country does not suck. It doesn't matter who you are on this planet. On average, in general, black, white, purple, green, or blue, doesn't matter who you are, what you want to do. This is still, in my opinion, the best place on earth to be.
In the history of the world, I would argue.
In the history of the world.
Not just today.
And has done more around the world to raise people out of poverty, to abdicate, to eradicate hunger, to lift the rest of the world up, to provide defense for the rest of the free world. This is still the greatest country on earth, and obviously it has its flaws. But it's hilarious. Yeah. It's hilarious to me that is somehow a controversial opinion. Obviously, I'm biased because
it's extremely controversial.
It's extremely it's extremely controversial apparently to say that this is the greatest country on earth. And if that's controversial, then I don't know. Fuck me, man.
Well, we'll fuck you later. But here's where I stand on this. I view America like it's a human institution.
Yeah,
it is. We're running it. It's run by humans. It's occupied by humans. It's operated by humans. Humans are deeply flawed. But I do think this is the best iteration of the human experiment we've seen in government, and there have been many examples. I view our flaws as there's varying degrees of our flaws, obviously, but our general flaws, our average flaws, our weaknesses as a nation are really bad, like pimples. They're really bad, maybe even illnesses, viruses in the body. I don't view our organs as defective. I think that the blood and guts of this country is still great. I think the principles that it was built on were great.
Well, the principles that this country was built on are great. They're the best.
We haven't always hit our
from the beginning. We didn't live up to those principles.
No, we failed in
because the United
ways.
when at the American Revolution, they didn't sit down and write the Constitution and get to decide how everyone was going to think all of a sudden. They didn't get to just decide how the world's going to be now. They had to introduce a system into a very flawed and very imperfect world with many flawed people that are grandfathered into a lot of really bad ideas and a lot of really bad practices. But they didn't get to just change how everything was going to be, because there were millions of people that lived here that they're not all just going to change how they live. But what they can do is lay a groundwork for a nation that over the arc of history will, what did MLK say? Like it bends toward justice.
Yes.
Well, we're going to set up a system in the best way possible the American system is to guarantee rights that pre-exist government.
Yes.
The government doesn't give you rights. The government is there to protect your rights. We're going to protect those rights and keep people safe.
The words on the paper are great. The words, the Federalist Papers,
and
the
from the beginning, the country didn't live up to it.
No,
but we've been bending towards it. And what people have started to say is, is that the world's not perfect, the country's not perfect. That must mean the foundational principles behind it are not perfect. I mean,
they want to throw out the paper.
Yeah, it took us nearly 100 years to get rid of slavery.
Yeah, the paper's good.
Yeah, I mean. It took us, and then Jim Crow happened. I mean, many racial things, the race stuff is probably the biggest one. There are other things that we didn't live up to from the start, but we've been bending towards that.
Are we bending towards Donald Trump 4 more years? You still haven't answered. You're saying you want more time. I'm asking you now, September 14th. You can change your mind tomorrow. I don't care. But if you had to guess, you got a gun to your head.
If I had to guess who's going to win?
Yeah.
If the election were held today, I'm pretty sure Trump wins.
Trump wins again.
I'm pretty sure Trump wins. The incumbent has a very big advantage because it's the devil you know.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? The incumbent has a very big advantage. Biden has not really made his case for what does Biden actually believe in? Boil his campaign down to a paragraph, and it's, hey guys, I'm not Trump.
Yes.
You know what I mean? That's literally what's his big platform thing? You know what I mean? It's he doesn't what's one new idea that Biden has?
I think that's that fun song. What do I stand for?
Right.
Sometimes.
Yeah. It's
I don't know anymore.
It's
that's where we're at.
Yeah. It's I don't actually know what Biden stands for. He just stands for not Trump.
I think it's a conscious decision, though. I don't think it's an accident. I think they sat in a room and were like, this is what we're going to do.
He
which
wants to
is
just say,
ridiculous.
I'm not Trump, and then avoid talking about what he actually believes for the rest of the election.
So
Which
we
is
got
like
your red hat ready.
A legitimate strategy, yeah.
We got your MAGA hat ready. It's in the
Me?
back. Yeah, you're a fraud.
I'm not saying that I'm
kidding.
all for it.
I know.
I'm saying
You're
that
making your
if the election,
prediction.
if the election were held like 6 weeks ago, I'm pretty sure Biden wins. But all of this with the rioting and Biden whistling past it and refusing to condemn the people who are actually instigating all of the violence. You see, like, people were posting and saying, like, oh yeah, but it's secretly right-wing agitators that are starting all the violence. It's like, come on.
The one thing I'll say, there
idiots.
haven't been a lot of like right-wing riots that I know. I mean,
Except like when the Red Sox lose the World Series or something.
Yeah,
that's like the only,
that's the ultimate right-wing riot.
That's the ultimate riot.
That's like the most racist fan base ever.
Right, exactly. I mean, it's like, I mean, you know,
whatever. So you're on Trump. I have
so much could change.
We know that. But we're
change.
saying today though, like where we stand today, if it were held today, it's no one knows what's going to happen. For all we know, there's a bombshell. Although I don't know, Trump is like in a permanent bunker. Like no bombshell seems to really rattle the cage there in terms of the whole I can go shoot someone on Fifth Avenue thing. But like
I'm very worried about. Man, it seems like it's hard to hold an election these days that people are willing to just say that they'll accept the results of the election. It is like, name an election nowadays that the other side, the losing side, like accepts the results and says that there wasn't any meddling in the election or anything.
This is going to be a shit show. You guys are going to have so much content over at the Daily Wire.
I don't like thinking about it that way, but it's like,
oh, that's what it is though.
It's what it is.
The entertainers root for chaos.
Yeah. Well, it's man, I hope whoever wins that it can just be, that we can just be done with the violence. You know what I mean? I hope whoever wins, we can just be done with just people just violently going after each other and just exacting their anger out on people who had nothing to do with it. You know what I mean? Burning down businesses and just harassing people in the street and harassing people that are just trying to live their lives who have absolutely nothing to do with why you're angry.
No.
And people just taking out their anger on people, and it just doesn't make, and it needs to stop. And I'll say this too, just about the election, and it's, I won't tell anyone who to vote for. I always wait till I have all the information. So I wait till the moment where I need to vote for, whatever election it is. I'm not going to make any decision beforehand. I wait till I have all of the information, but I'll just tell people, just to like vote your conscience. That's what I say. I don't care who you vote for. If you're not, I'm not one of those people who says everyone should go vote. I think if you're informed and care about it and you think it's worthwhile for you to vote, go vote. I'm not going to tell people who don't know anything about politics, who don't follow it at all. I know that this might be a controversial opinion.
Not for me.
Yeah, is that like if you don't know shit about politics, and
I'd rather you stayed home.
Yeah, I'd rather you stay home because you don't know what you're doing, and that's fine. I'm not like insulting any specific person right now. I'm just saying, like, if you care about politics and you have any kind of like informed opinion about it, go vote and vote your conscience. I don't care who you vote for, but vote for, don't be pressured into it. Don't be intimidated into your vote. No one has a right to know who you voted for. No one gets to decide for you. You don't have to. You don't have to go around and tell people. There might be people that will say like, "Oh, if you vote for Biden, I'm never going to be friends with you again," or if you vote for Trump, you're an evil person. Or
it's on my timeline.
You can accept people's flaws and accept that a lot of people are very upset. A lot of people are very scared, and people say and do things that maybe under better circumstances they wouldn't do. So for people that say stuff like that, people that say I'll unfriend you, I'll never be friends with you if you vote for Biden, Trump, whatever. I think
colorblind casting.
In an ideal world we wouldn't have to do stuff like that, but I understand people are scared. People think that a lot of people believe a lot is at stake right now.
Yeah.
And so I just encourage people, vote your conscience. Don't be pressured into anything. Think about everything that's going on right now. Think about your worldview, the vision of the country that you want to enact, and figure out what direction you want to go. Figure out what world you want to live in. Figure out what direction you want this place to go, because no politician is going to be perfect. No politician is going to walk exactly in the straight line that you want to walk. You're not going to agree with them 100% on everything, but they're going to lead the country in a direction.
What if my conscience says that Tulsi Gabbard should be president of the United States?
If you look at your poster of Tulsi Gabbard in your room one night,
which one? Which one am I looking at? Yeah, which one?
The one that's on the ceiling right above your bed. Yeah, right. If you look at that one,
my wife loves my Tulsi Gabbard poster.
Yeah, if you look at that and she speaks to you and
I really like her politics, but sorry,
her politics are great.
Yeah. No, she's get me out of the wars. That's all I'm saying.
Yeah. So right in Tulsi Gabbard, if your conscience directs you to do so.
I like Tulsi Gabbard. I just want to feel excited about voting for somebody, and I haven't felt that. I really haven't. The last time I was I voted for Obama in 2012, but I was really excited to vote for John McCain in 2008. I didn't think he was going to win, but first of all, it was my first time being a legal voter, so that was kind of cool. And it was a cool thing. But I was really excited to vote for him. I really believed in him. I thought he was a good man. Didn't agree with everything, but we've been down that already. It's like, can we just give me somebody? Nikki Haley, I think, would be great. On the Republican side, we talked about Tulsi on the Democrat side, but I don't know. This is hopefully the last shit show election. We'll see.
I have yet to have an election that I was supremely happy to vote in.
But nothing has been a shit show like the last two. I mean, let's face it. And Trump is a symptom of that, if not the disease itself. But
2016 was my first election.
That's right. You're a child. That's right. You're a little guy.
I was like 2 months.
What a first time.
I was like a month. I was like a month and a half short of voting in 2012.
You just missed it.
I just missed it. Yeah. I turned 18 in like December of that year.
Oh, what a first rodeo. So we're doing a fun thing. We'll move on from all the craziness.
Yeah.
We'll make it a little more fun. We've been at it for, I don't know, hour and a half, Ben?
Yeah, at least an hour 40.
Hour and 40. See, the people love it. I've got
wow.
I don't know if you've seen me looking at my computer. I've had like 9 messages saying what a great job Nick's doing. So
wow.
Yeah, they really like you. It's too bad you live out in
wow.
the West Coast and
I know.
Crazy California.
I got to get out of there one day.
Yeah.
How is LA?
LA is it's so bad. LA is like, especially right now.
It's heaven on earth climate wise, other than the forest.
Yeah, I mean, it's on fire right now.
Yeah,
it was literally like there was incense burning around me all last week or whatever. I mean, right now, it's just LA is a terrible place to live right now. I will say everything being shut down and the homeless problem is out of control. It's absolutely out of control.
Did you check when Ben was on Joe Rogan? He was talking about the homeless problem in LA.
Yeah.
They were talking just about this, how it has gotten out of control.
It's insane.
Yeah.
And
Joe Rogan fled. He said that was part of the reason, just like how bad the governance is there.
More like a tax write-off for that Spotify.
You got to keep that Spotify money in your pocket.
Ben,
no state there.
When you're right, you're right. It's like going to save him $10 million, but he has cited the governance as driving him nuts, though.
Yeah, I mean, I could speak a lot about the governance, whatever, but I'll just say right now, I mean, LA is a cool place. One of the cool things about LA is just like everything's there. You know what I mean? Whatever comedy show you want to go to, whatever concert, whatever, everything's going to come through LA.
Yeah.
LA has access to a lot of things, a lot of great restaurants, great beaches, whatever. And there are great beaches, lots of places, but they're
SoCal's pretty nice.
SoCal's pretty nice in a lot of ways. The weather's nice that you don't have to deal with any super harsh winter or whatever. But man, during COVID, when everything is locked down this entire year, you really start realizing, man, I am paying a shit ton of money for a 1-bedroom apartment in I don't have any space to move around. I don't have a yard. I can't there's so many things in my life that are constricted about it. There are no shows. There's all of the cool things that would normally come through here. All the cool shows, cool concerts, comedy shows, restaurants, whatever. Remove that from the situation.
You're strumming your guitar basically because you're a guitar player for those who don't know.
There you go.
Yeah, a good guitar player too.
Yeah.
Good singer too. We've worked together in that field.
Yeah.
You were involved in a couple of riots yourself back in the day at the Barricade. Yeah.
Oh, that's true.
Weren't you involved in the French Revolution?
The French, you were involved.
I
was an integral part of that.
Yeah. You were a key cog in that fight. So we're talking about Les Miserables for the uninformed. So I mean, California was always my dream destination and has been for a long time. I've kind of pivoted to now I want to live either somewhere in North Carolina, like Raleigh or Charlotte in particular.
Yeah. I had a couple of friends that lived down in Charlotte, I think.
Charlotte's a great town.
Yeah.
One of my best friends, James, lives there right now. He's a great guy, probably listening right now. So yeah, he lives in Charlotte. Awesome. And I really like Nashville. Everyone's talking about Nashville.
Nashville's really cool.
Nashville is hot.
Yeah.
I mean, everyone's moving to Nashville now. So anyway, we do this fun thing, Nick, called the speed round.
All right.
Little gimmicky, but it's fun.
I should take a sip of this before the speed round.
I would take a chug of this for the speed. We want you locked in. So I'm sorry, there's still a little bit of politics left, but you can keep it, a little bit lighter. You don't have to talk about like the Declaration of Independence and all that.
I would.
The founding father principles. You can go wherever you want with it.
Yeah.
Ben, are you ready for some speed round?
I got the graphics up and ready.
You're ready to go. Let's start.
I'm looking over there at graphics.
No, you don't need to look.
Okay.
That's for the viewers. I need your eyes on me.
Oh, okay.
Look into my beautiful hazel eyes.
Okay.
Then we're like brown. First up.
Wait, what are the rules? Sorry.
I'm going to say a name or a word or whatever.
Yeah.
Just give me your reaction.
Is this going to get me in trouble?
Well, you can always pass if you want to.
I can pass.
Yeah.
Try and be quicker. A lot of our guests like to take their time. I think we can speed it up.
We'll try to do
3 to 5
smart
sentences.
guy, Nick.
3 to 5 sentences?
Yeah.
You said? Okay.
Yeah. Give or take. First up, Hillary Clinton. Short thoughts on Hillary Clinton.
Hillary Clinton, I don't know, hot sauce in her purse. Hillary Clinton.
Yeah. Phony? Is that the goal? Like you're
phony?
saying she's phony?
Yeah. Pretty phony. I don't know. She's just deeply flawed candidate. Annoying laugh. I don't know.
Okay, that's fine. That's fine.
I don't know what to say about Hillary
That was
Clinton.
perfect.
That
You
won't
got it.
get me in trouble.
Oh, all right. Fair enough. Well, you can tell me
Those
after.
are my first impressions of Hillary Clinton.
That works. We'll go with it. Alex Jones.
Alex Jones. Crazy person who is unfortunately sometimes right about things. That's Alex Jones.
He's hilarious.
He's hilarious, and he says so many things that are he's very funny to watch. He says so many things that are not true, and then the problem is some of the things that he says are very true.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's like 1 out of 8. It's like
He's unhinged. I will say Alex Jones is unhinged, unbased.
Genuine or performance art? What do you think for him? Is he a true believer?
I
in
think
what he
he's
says?
so much an art piece that he's a true art piece and that he doesn't even know he is.
Okay.
He is so deep, high level art.
Yeah.
Alex Jones is.
He's like our Michelangelo.
And if you ever have, he really is.
And
if you ever have just 5 spare hours and you just want to, and if you're inclined to just
hear about frogs being gay,
then just go watch Alex Jones on Joe Rogan and try to forget everything afterwards.
Previous generations had the Sistine Chapel. We're going to have Alex Jones YouTube clips for future generations to watch as our great statement of art for our generation.
Yeah.
So next up, you're a Michigan guy.
Yeah.
You like food, I think.
I love food.
Best restaurant in Ann Arbor. Great food town. Much
Best restaurant in Ann Arbor?
Other than Zingerman's, which everyone knows is the best.
Yeah, it's overpriced though.
You could charge me $40 for that same.
Best. You know what's pretty good is like Frida Potatoes is pretty good.
Never been.
You ever been there? It's like Cuban burgers.
Oh, all right.
The best. I like what's it? I'm not gonna remember all the names of it. Best restaurant, Jimmy John's probably.
Yeah, come on.
I liked
that frittata place, or whatever.
Frida Potatoes.
Yeah,
I'll go with Frida Potatoes. It's very good. Slurping Turtle. I like Slurping Turtle a lot. It's it's a ramen place in Ann Arbor. I'm blanking on. There's the one Italian restaurant downtown that I liked a lot.
Main Street.
Yeah,
I think I know the one you're talking about.
Main Street. I like that.
I'm a diehard Spartan man. Yeah. Ann Arbor kicks the shit out of East Lansing on the food front. Yeah. Like, it's like, where do I want to go in East Lansing? Well, are you willing to go to Okemos? Are you willing to go to downtown Lansing? Right. Go to the Nightcap, or now it's Bodie's? Like,
I haven't eaten out much in East Lansing. I know it's Al Azteco, right? Is that like the
Al Azteco? Yeah, I mean, it's that's
okay.
Like
literally the only restaurant I remember.
Where's the spot where all the students get drunk at?
Well, that's a long list.
On Thursdays
there's the one place in East Lansing where the kids go get drunk. The Riv, Rick's. Rick's is like, Rick's.
Is it Rick's in East Lansing too?
Oh yeah.
Is it the same?
Our Rick's is actually way better than yours because it's East Lansing. We actually have
Ann Arbor Rick's is the most terrible place.
Well, yeah, ours is terrible, but ours is like more terrible in a great way than yours.
Okay.
Yeah, yours is like particularly bad. But no, yeah, Rick's is like where you go like if you just have no dignity whatsoever.
That's like Skeeps in Ann Arbor.
I used to go there all the time, so I'm throwing myself under the bus, by the way. Yeah,
I'm trying to think of other good restaurants there.
You named 3. I think we're good. The point is that you could go like 17 down the list, and it's better than anything in East Lansing. That's where we're at. You're a musical guy, so am I. I'm a huge dork. I love them. I've seen like 65 in person. Best musical ever. Best one ever.
Oh. Well, there's a difference between best and my favorite musical.
We'll give them both.
I'd say like my favorite musical ever, unapologetically, is Joseph and the Amazing Technicolor Dreamcoat.
Okay, so you got bad taste on that one.
Yeah,
What's the other one?
Terrible taste. A best musical ever. But it's so tough to say.
You were in it, so that's a good footnote.
You're talking about Legally Blonde?
Oh yeah, Legally Blonde. Yeah.
Man, actual best musical ever. Shit, man, I can't.
My favorite is Phantom. The best is Les Miserables. If we're doing this whole favorite best shit.
Yeah, I mean, Les Miserables is pretty good. It'll be really tough for me to pick a best. I'd have to look at the list.
Have you heard Annie Cordes sing Cosette?
Yeah, have you heard
Steve Martin sing Valjean?
Yeah, I mean, okay, Les Mis is pretty good. I'd say there's a lot of. I think the best recent musical, I think is in terms of the music, I think is maybe like Dear Evan Hansen or something like that.
I haven't seen it, but I've heard it.
The music is very good.
Yeah.
The story's all right. I can't pick a favorite. I'll just say Les Mis and make you happy.
Oh, so that works. Play to your host here.
Yeah.
So we kind of already hit this, but you can hit it again real quick. Living in California.
Yeah.
That's the speed round.
That's the question.
Yeah, just you kind of already
in California.
Yeah, you don't like it.
Expensive.
Shitty.
Right now, over the past month, hot.
Pre-COVID though, how about that?
Pre-COVID? Oh, it's fun. There's a variety. There's a lot to do. It offers a lot.
Yeah.
It's
I don't know what Shapiro's doing out there. He got rips on it every 5 seconds, which I get, but he was like from there though, wasn't he?
He's born and raised.
Yeah, he's a UCLA guy, right? Before Harvard Law.
Yeah, UCLA and then Harvard Law.
Yeah, right.
And then his parents and uncles and everything are all his family.
That's where they're
usually
at.
A lot of them worked in the film industry.
Yeah, wasn't his mom like
his mom worked in business affairs for a studio.
Okay.
Yeah. And his dad's a musician.
Did you read Prime Time Propaganda?
I haven't read Primetime Propaganda.
Really good book.
I haven't read. I will admit, I'm sorry, Ben. I have not read your entire catalog.
I actually have.
Books. Oh, wow.
I actually have. Yeah.
You're a dedicated fan.
He's interesting. I do find myself being like, okay, come on, like sometimes, but like we said.
Well, I mean, he wrote his first book when he was like 16 years old. So he's like, people's views change over the course of 20 years.
Well, I think he got that one generally right. I mean, the opinion that the thesis is basically that Hollywood is extremely liberal, which is like not that controversial of a take, but anyway.
No, it's not. I mean, it's blatantly obvious.
So you're back in Michigan. We're talking about California.
Yeah.
Thing that you miss most about Michigan. What do you miss about living here?
People are a lot friendlier here. I'd say that. People are more willing to have a conversation. I miss the space. I miss the green. I miss having grass. I miss having trees. I miss being able to not have to drive 2 hours to go fishing or something. You know what I mean? I definitely like the space, and there's a lot more community building in places like that. You know,
is everybody in LA fake?
I wouldn't say that people are fake. It's just, this is what I think. There's that song Lullaby by, I think
Tal Bachman.
What?
No.
What? No, I think it's Ed McWayne.
Oh, you're thinking of we're thinking Sean Mullins, maybe?
Sean Mullins, that's what it is. Sean Mullins, Lullaby.
I'm thinking of Rockabye, not Rockabye. Lullaby. Yeah, right? Or is that the same song?
It's the same song.
Yeah, I got to brush up on
Mullins, that's what it is.
Sean Mullins. So we got there.
Yeah, but he's got that song, and there's a line in that song where he says, seems like everybody has a plan. And that's what I always say about LA. Is everybody has a plan in LA, and no one's doing exactly what they want to do, and everyone has an angle to try to get what their plan is.
Isn't the next line? It seems like Nashville with a tan.
Is that what it is? I think that's what it is. Yeah, it's kind of like Nashville with a tan,
or whatever it was.
I think that is the line.
Yeah. My town, Nashville. Yeah, my Waterby town.
Yeah, and it's everybody has a plan.
Yeah.
So it's. A lot of people have ulterior motives. I wouldn't go so far as to call people fake, because I think I don't. There are a lot of people that are you could probably safely call them fake, but I think it's more just people. people have a lot of lofty goals and like a lot of big dreams in LA, and a lot of people are really frustrated for not having been able to achieve those lofty goals and dreams, and at some point will begin to, there's a lot of desperation, and so people will look for what you offer them in terms of what they're looking for out of life.
What's in it for me, right?
Yeah, what's in it for me?
Self-interest.
Yeah.
Not a lot of hospitality or common courtesy, or would you say there is?
I'd say a lot of LA culture sort of favors the attitude of stepping over people to get what you want. That seems like a fair thing to say.
I used to love it. Now I'm all about Nashville, North Carolina. So anywhere in North Carolina.
Yeah. There was like an article that came out recently. It said like what used to be the California dream is now the California compromise, and it's like people live in LA. People live people deal with California.
They tolerate
everything going on in California to be able to have access to the things that happen to be in California.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
You got time for one more speed round.
One more speed round. Okay, hold on.
Take your sip. I'll ask you. We talked 2020 to death. Who wins the 2024 presidential election? Much harder question.
It is entirely dependent on who wins the 2020 election.
I know
it's impossible to say. It's impossible to say because if Joe Biden wins the 2020 election,
it's going to be Kamala
in 2024.
Yeah, you think he's going to be a two-termer?
No, I don't think Biden's going to be a two-termer.
No.
I think a Republican probably wins.
Oh, okay. So it would
someone like Nikki Haley or Greg Abbott or like Ron DeSantis, something like that, could win in 2024, or Ted Cruz.
No, Ted Cruz is unelectable.
I mean, I can't speak to that.
The Zodiac Killer.
The Zodiac Killer.
Right. Yeah, his dad
Ted
killed
Cruz
JFK.
has been making a strong push for likability.
Yeah, I think Ted Cruz working.
Ted Cruz's image has changed a lot.
Did you watch, according to who, the 2016 election, those primaries? Ted Cruz, this is what he talks like. What I see in my vision for America, as I look upon the hill and I see the sun setting on the sea. It's
pretty good.
It's like no one's buying this dude. Like I think he's like, if you're a conservative, like he's a constitutional conservative, I don't really have issues like with his policies so much. He just comes off like, guy's got to get a coach or something.
I mean, So I mean, I don't know. I would strongly see a Nikki Haley or a Greg Abbott or a Ron DeSantis.
My pick's actually Nikki Haley. That's my answer.
I think Nikki Haley would be great.
She's dynamite. She's gonna blow up at some point. So that's where
I think she would be great. She's a fighter.
Smart.
She's very smart. I've met her too.
You've met Nikki Haley?
Yeah, I met Nikki Haley.
I hate you.
I know.
You're already living my dream life working for Ben Shapiro.
I think. But then if Trump wins, and then we're looking at 2024, I think there's a 0% chance of a Republican winning in 2024 if Trump wins 2020.
Yeah, people will be done with the Republican
It'll just be
thing.
like
it's always the pendulum.
When we don't, there's always the pendulum. Once Trump is a lame duck, people are just gonna be like, fuck it. You know what I mean? We're done. We're going the other way now. Once the choice is not Trump, then people are going to be like, all right, whatever.
Then the backlash comes if it doesn't come in, a month and a half here.
So I mean, if Pence runs in 2024 or whatever, I don't think Pence wins. I think I don't know who they would. Pence
isn't a president.
Yeah, the strong if the Democrats were smart, they could run someone like the guy from Ohio. What's his name? The senator from Ohio.
How about the girl from Hawaii?
The girl, Tulsi?
Yeah.
Oh, the Democratic Party hates Tulsi.
They need to wake up.
I know. They really do. If
she would have done well if they had just embraced
what's the guy's
her.
name? Look up
John Kasich?
No, not Kasich.
No,
he's the worst.
He's already a
he's
Democrat.
The worst. Look up the senators from Ohio. I'm blanking on his name.
Chuck Grassley?
No.
Joni Ernst?
No. Maybe he's a.
You said Iowa, right?
No, Ohio.
Oh, Ohio?
Ohio. Yeah.
Did I have an aneurysm?
I'm like
Rob Portman,
Sherrod Brown would be a pretty good pick for them to do. I'm trying to think of other Democrats. Amy Klobuchar would be good if
she ran sane. She ran
pretty sane, and she would have been a better VP pick.
Yes.
Yes. Yeah. She definitely would have been a better VP pick, and it would be a very different race right now if she were. But she's just not. I don't know. She doesn't quite have the charisma. She's like pretty goofy. I actually like her. It's just I don't think she has like that sort of national stage charisma. But I think Sherrod Brown would be a great Democratic contender for 2024. There are a couple other people. I mean, it was really a dry field for the Democratic primaries. Yeah. It was really a dry field.
That spigot went dry after Barack left. Yeah. So I gotta ask, speed round's done. You're off the hook with that.
Yeah.
You're good at this stuff. You're good at talking about it. You know your shit. Have you ever gone up to Ben and said, look, why don't I get that in front of the camera instead of behind it? Has that ever been a thing for you?
I don't know. I take things one step at a time.
But does that ever interest you, though? Do you have any interest in being in front of the camera, or are you more just, I want to be like on the production crew?
I'm a performer and stuff. I don't know if I like talking about politics, but I don't know if I want to make that like an extreme like public facing thing.
Okay, fair enough.
But I don't know. I take things one step at a time. I focus on what I'm working on right now, trying to do things the best way of what I'm doing right now. So
you're good at what you do, because I've worked with you on technical stuff before. So
yeah,
and you're working for Ben Shapiro.
Yeah,
that's I got to ask you this.
Yeah,
does the offer still stand for Steve Martin and I to go out? And I did add him to the invite to go out to California, or
as soon as COVID is over,
right after this. I'm not allowed to go anyway. My wife's like 8.75 months pregnant.
The second that COVID is over, you're absolutely welcome.
Will you be working for him in a year? Can you give me a year before you?
It's hard to say. Meteors could strike the Earth.
You're not planning to leave, so
I'm not planning to leave.
So can Steve Martin come?
Steve is super welcome.
Yeah, because Steve does not want to feel left out. So I would love to.
Do you have any other behind the scenes? I feel like we didn't cover enough of like the behind the scenes Daily Wire stuff. I feel like. Do you have anything?
I'll turn my mic off. There you go. Go ahead.
Behind the scenes. Well, do you have any questions? I just want to know if you have any questions.
I asked you what he's like. You said he was cool. Like, he was chill. You said he's very vanilla. I don't know. It didn't sound that salacious.
No, yeah. There's no. I'm an
expert interviewer, Nick, but you didn't give me any meat.
One of the things that surprises people about Ben, I think, is how much he swears. How much he curses.
Would not have guessed that.
Scenes.
So I would not have guessed that.
Yeah, that's one of the first things I noticed when I started working there is how much he curses behind the scenes, especially right now because he's so frustrated with the state of politics right now.
He seems like a guy that would just be like, "Oh, rats!"
No,
rats.
Not at all.
Rats. The White Sox lost. Gosh darn it!
It was if you. Watch,
and that's what it seems like.
Well, because people were making fun of him because he was like doing the WAP song or WAP song, and he was like, "What?" Wet ass P word. And it was like,
his voice is so great.
Yeah, it was so and so people were making fun of him like that, but no, he does curse pretty strong in real life. He's really talented in a lot of fields. Like we said, really talented musician. And
what does he play?
He plays violin.
Oh, okay.
Violin, and his father, who I've worked with a bunch too. His father, who's a great guy.
A composer or something.
Composer, has written a musical and written many musicals. And I've worked with him. He's a extremely talented piano player. Was like a club player for a long time. And his sister is like a very, very talented opera singer. Yeah, and I've worked with her a couple of times.
She looks like him with a wig.
She really does. They look pretty similar.
Yeah, it's like the same person basically.
Yeah.
I feel bad for her because they were saying like she. I read somewhere that like she was getting bullied, like anti-Semitic harassment and stuff. Just because
it comes with the territory. I mean, she's out.
Bro, she didn't do anything. I mean,
she definitely didn't do anything. People should check her out on YouTube.
Classically Abby.
Yeah, she has a great YouTube channel, especially oriented towards like conservative women, and it's a really great YouTube channel that people should check out.
What does Ben Shapiro's wife do?
She's like some kind of. She works in the medical field.
Yeah, something.
It's like something.
Is she like billing, medical billing?
She works on like business.
I think Ben's mentioned it once or twice. A doctor, right?
She's she's some kind of. Oh, you're a nurse.
Is it a doctor?
Kind of doctor?
I thought it was a nurse. Whatever.
She's a physician, I believe.
Have you met Shapiro's wife?
She mostly keeps to herself. Actually, I actually never.
I'd be curious.
Really
like she would never do an interview with anyone, let alone me. But it's just like that'd be an interesting interview too, because it's like she's married to Satan. Not me calling him Satan, but like half the country says Satan.
Yeah,
I like Ben.
Luckily, Shapiro is a common enough name. You know what I mean? That like, she doesn't have to. If he was like, if he had some kind of other name, or whatever, she might get called out more on it. But
I don't know.
But yeah, I don't really know. I haven't really met her.
You're telling me about behind the scenes stuff. Like, is Michael Knowles like blowing up fart bombs or something, or Molotov?
Michael is
cocktails?
a funny guy. Michael Knowles is a funny guy.
Talk about a guy that just does not give a fuck about
he's
anything.
A warrior. He's a warrior.
He's a guy that seems like he'd be the same in front of the camera and off camera. Like just like kind of just does not care.
Yeah, I'll introduce you to Michael one day. Michael's a great guy.
Yeah, he's smart. He went to like Yale or something.
He went to Yale. He's a very smart guy, and he's a fighter for sure.
Yeah,
he's a fighter, but he's a very smart, very kind guy. And out of anyone at Daily Wire, he's probably like I hang out with him the most.
He doesn't get rattled. See, Ben a couple of times has gotten rattled. The famous BBC interview, which he admits, I think he, kind of admitted he kicked famously, just, didn't have his best day. Yeah, when you're a conveyor belt of opinions, you're going to have your moments, you're up and down. But Michael Knowles, I've never seen him. I don't watch him as often as Ben, but like, I've never seen Michael Knowles get like the cage rattled where he's like, he had people throwing stuff at him, like at one of those school speeches.
Well, so it was funny because I travel with Michael sometimes.
Were you there that day when they were
I wasn't there that day when someone like assaulted him basically while he was giving the speech.
Yeah.
I wasn't there that day, but I will say I was there. I travel with him sometimes. And I forget where we were. I think it was in Georgia or something, and which you would think would not be a problem. But he was speaking at some college, and there were a bunch of protesters there, like hundreds of protesters there. And I went out, and there was nothing to show that I was like, part of the Daily Wire or anything.
Yeah.
I think they pegged me just because my hair was parted and I was wearing a suit jacket. Like I think they just pegged me as
a little too nice.
I was dressed like a little too nice, and they like pegged me as like part of that group or whatever.
You're part of the patriarchy.
And I was just grabbing some footage with my phone or whatever because I wanted to get some footage of the riots. Or not riots, sorry, protests.
Yeah,
but they turned a little bit into riots because people were like throwing
just
stuff at me.
Just a little bit riotous.
People started throwing stuff at me and yelling at me and all this stuff. And it's like, man, for Michael Knowles? Really? Come on.
He's controversial.
He's controversial, but he's does not espouse any idea that's not in the mainstream of conservative thought.
That's controversial now.
That's being a conservative, and it's controversial for half the country.
Yeah,
for the other half that
he's the same guy though, right? He's the same guy. Like you're talking to Michael Knowles, like is he?
Oh yeah,
have you ever seen him get like hot, like get mad? I can't. Like he's just so.
I've never really seen him get mad. I'm trying to think of any. I haven't really seen any host get mad. Probably like Matt Walsh is the one that's probably most inclined to like get mad about something, really worked up.
Oh, he gets mad on the show.
He gets mad on the show and he gets it out. But and I don't deal with Matt Walsh very much because he doesn't work out of our studio, but he films at his home. But out of Ben, Knowles, or Clavin, like none of them really get mad. I mean, we're pretty. When you're talking politics all day, then when you're just hanging out, you don't really want to, we'll talk about like first principles stuff mostly, but we don't really like talking about like the day-to-day stuff.
No, it just burns you out, I feel like. So you're doing it every day for hours and hours. But So anything crazy at the Daily Wire that you've experienced that would surprise people? I mean, it just seems like a very chill club for you guys.
It's pretty chill, and it's funny because we had someone who just started this like a week or two ago. We had someone who just started working there, and a new producer, and she was saying like she had worked in a lot of sort of Hollywood, like sort of mainstream Hollywood film productions and production houses and things like that, and she said, "Man, this is like the best work environment I've ever worked in." It's just like we're just like very chill.
I'm available. Is the Daily Wire looking for a Detroit sports?
So go to ZipRecruiter.com and you can see our job listings there.
We actually have a job listing on ZipRecruiter.com. I also bought some Tacova boots from your guys' ad. Thanks for the promo code and actually 10% off from the Ben Shapiro show.
Yeah.
Anything to help you guys out.
Absolutely.
Well, Nick, we've gone, a little over 2 hours now, Ben. Is that right?
2:10.
My man,
wow,
thanks for your time.
Yeah,
Will you
problem,
ever
man.
join me again? Are you going to be too big?
Absolutely. I'll join you again. I'm not getting any bigger than I am right now. I'm going downhill.
See, you're so bashful. You're on the come. I remember your first, credits with Ben Shapiro show. It was, like coffee guy, and then it was like production assistant, and then it was like, camera operator. Now it's producer. It's like, pretty soon you're going to be on camera. But hey, man, appreciate you coming.
Yeah, it was really fun, man. It sucks that we're canceled.
We are canceled. No, only Ben has even heard this conversation, actually.
Yeah.
But I think it's, it's an exciting time to be in the field that you're in. I think Donald Trump was probably the best thing that ever happened to you guys, the best thing that ever happened to a lot of people in politics, including on the left, just from a media standpoint. I think more people give a shit about the news cycle 24 hours than they did 8 years ago, 4 years ago even. More people care now just because it's a more prevalent issue. Politics is culture now.
Yeah.
And it wasn't like that when I was growing up.
And I just want to say one thing before we go.
Say whatever you want.
Say one thing before we go is that, whoever is listening to this might have listened. If you disagreed, whatever, I don't know if you'll have made it the whole way through. Who knows? Whatever. You might hate me by now. Who cares? But I'll say a lot of the problems right now in the state of politics is people actively not trying to understand each other, and I call it attribution of false motivation. Is people attributing a false motivation to someone else, like, oh, you only believe that because you're racist. You only believe that because you don't care about poor people. Like, you only believe that because you want free stuff from the government, whatever.
Yes.
Usually it's not true. People believe what they believe, and usually they have a really good reason for believing it. And it might be difficult to understand because you don't have the same experience and you don't have the same perspective as that person. And, if you believe really strongly in something, if you really hold your beliefs very close to your chest and don't want to be opened up to it, I would really challenge people to, when you meet something or hear someone that you disagree with, I'm not saying you have to change your mind and agree with them, but rather than just saying, I don't have to worry about that person, I don't have to associate with that person, I'm just going to remove that person from my life, rather than doing that, take a minute and really try to understand that person's perspective and with good faith, try to understand why that person believes what they believe, and approach it assuming that they believe it for good reasons, because people usually do.
That is a very Alexander Hamiltonian perspective. It's something he talked about in the Federalist Papers pretty openly and clearly, about attributing the worst possible motive to your opponent and how damaging that is, and that there are bad people out there, evil people out there, but they tend to be the minority, and to automatically default to you disagree, therefore you must be evil or ill-intentioned. It's an unhealthy perspective.
Absolutely.
It's toxic to the country.
Yeah.
And comparing you to Alexander Hamilton's quite a compliment. So I think that was one of the better Federalist Papers where he talked about it. So I agree. I co-sign everything you just said. Not everyone's evil. Got friends on both sides. Everyone's saying, I blame Donald Trump, blame Barack Obama, blame Joe Biden for polarizing the country. Don't give me that shit when I see your Twitter feed. You're calling people maggots or libtards or whatever. Don't point the finger at the politician. Look in the mirror first. There's a lot of people that blame Donald Trump for the toxic discourse, and they're calling their own members of their family maggots. Not a good idea. A little bit hypocritical. Take a step back, a little perspective. Totally agree. I appreciate you joining us. I want you back.
It was fun.
I don't know. Are you coming around Christmas?
Yeah, probably. I mean, I'm sure I'll be back around Christmas
Okay,
time.
he has guaranteed that he will be back right after November elections.
Yeah.
I'm excited.
And we can talk about
the postmortem,
the rubble that remains of
the
America.
postmortem. Yeah. If your studio hasn't been like firebombed yet, God forbid. I mean, you guys might be a casualty in that war.
Yeah.
So anyway, Spiro Avenue Show, Nick Sheehan, producer for the Ben Shapiro Show, longtime friend of mine, great guy. Thank you for joining us.
Yeah.
Big thanks to our producer, Ben Augusta, running the board, running some things on the mic, doing an awesome job for us as always. Ben, thanks for hanging in there. I know it was a long but wonderful one tonight, so thank you to you.
Thank you, Nick, for coming on.
Yeah, it was fun. Anytime.
Yeah, Ben's the man. He's great. Quick thank you to our sponsor, the Michigan Peddler. My favorite company in Detroit, not just because they love me, but because they love their customers. They take very good care of their customers. 4.9 out of 5 on Google. Good luck finding that anywhere else. I always say, favorite restaurant in town, it's a chain, but still, Capitol Grill. They're the best. Not knocking them. 4.6 out of 5 on Google. Some people had a well-done steak that came out medium rare. I don't know what happened. 4.9 out of 5 for the Michigan Peddler. It's those awesome pedal bikes you ride around Detroit. You see them. They actually technically are still open for another couple weeks. Check them out, michiganpeddler.com, at MIPeddler on all social media. Big supporters of the show, big friends of the show, and our earliest and first supporters. Support them back. We love you. Thanks for joining us. Spiro Avenue Show with Nick Sheehan, Ben Augusta. We'll catch you later this week. Thanks.